What's up, Sifters? It's GameFace 59. We are in the heat of summer. I cannot believe we've almost done 60 episodes of this show.
That's a lot.
It's really crazy, man, to think about, but also very proud of it. Proud to have done a show that's reached that many episodes at this point in the site's life. Summer's hot. Games not so much.
Not yet.
It's about to, though.
Give it a few days.
Yeah. It's literally like a few days. Like, literally within like a week,
yeah,
the corner's going to turn, and then pretty much the rest of the year, we'll have great games to talk about. We have great games to talk about today, too.
Yeah.
They're just smaller games.
They're not the heavy hitters that we're waiting for.
Yeah. One of the little news items that dropped this week that we're not going to dedicate a topic of the Big Six to is, but actually maybe we should have, is that the Vita has been hacked.
Woo.
That's a big deal.
Yeah. It opens it up to a lot of stuff, and it certainly raises the price of those memory cards.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. What did you say you saw them for?
It was like 64 gig memory card for the Vita on Amazon used to be $29.99, and now last I looked it was $110. It's probably more now.
So MSRP.
Yeah. So I would suggest, they're kind of back up to what they cost originally. Yeah. So if you know where to get any of those, I would grab some of them and sell them back to the Vita faithful.
Yeah, man, I don't know if you remember or not, but the PSP kind of got a second life.
Yeah.
After it had pretty much been retired once they cracked that and had homebrew running on it, because people were like, man, I can play every game ever pretty much on this thing now. And also memory card sales shot up. Mm-hmm. You're starting to see that already with the Vita. I mean, if you're Sony, is it smart to just let this happen at this point?
What else are you doing with it, really? I mean...
Lots of games from Japan still coming, but...
Yeah, but, like, they don't... it's not like people wouldn't necessarily buy them anyway.
I mean, obviously, Sony can't come out and say it's okay, but, right, but just let the sleeping dog lie, so to speak.
It's more of a homebrew kind of thing. I'm sure, we might see some updates. Did they still update the Vita OS? I have a Vita.
I haven't turned my Vita on.
Yeah, I have a Vita, but I don't know where it is.
It's maybe been a year since
it's one of, like, 4 places, but I haven't looked for it.
Yeah.
I would have to charge it again, I guess. But
I'll say one thing. I had not turned on my 3DS in months, and it was still fully charged.
Oh, yeah, Nintendo
it
stuff
does not
holds
leak
a charge.
Battery. That's crazy.
I'll tell you this. Because I started playing the Pokemon games again, and I needed another DS to trade a Pokemon to get the evolution to happen for, because some of them only evolve their final form
after traded.
Trade. And so I dug up my old DSi. I haven't used my DSi. I turned on, had half a battery charge left.
I mean,
it must have been. The last time I touched that thing must have been 5-6 years ago minimum, and it still works. Yeah. Still works like off the shelf, covered in dust, boots right up.
The thing with the Vita is that screen, like I have the launch OLED screen. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a pretty awesome feature to be able to load an emulator on that thing and just play countless games on it with that quality of a display. Like,
it's very pretty if you don't have one of the ones that got that weird black.
Yeah, mine looks. Well, at least the last time I used it, it looked great.
Mine was fine. I didn't have any problems with it. It was a launch day one.
System was way ahead of its time.
It was to its detriment.
Yeah,
as Sega can tell you many stories about that.
Yeah, for sure.
And it was also just, Sony said we were going to learn from the mistakes of the PSP and not just offer lesser versions of PlayStation console games on it, and then they proceeded to do exactly that.
Well, at the end of the day, I would have appreciated just having those.
Right.
Because the PSP had a huge library. I have tons of PSP games. Like, they're all sitting on a shelf, and I have a bag full of the ROMs, like the UMD ROMs, because they wouldn't send you the box copy of PSP games for review. You just get a blank ROM with the game name written in marker on it or whatever. I literally have a Ziploc about this big that's this fat with UMDs. Mm-hmm. And then I also have probably 30 or maybe actually 50 boxed PSP games. None of those have been touched or open for ever. And I never loaded Homebrew. I never loaded Homebrew on anything pretty much. But
I did on the Wii, so I could play the European version of Xenoblade. And then I also used it to rip a couple of games that I owned to the USB so I could play them in Dolphin.
Yeah.
Including Xenoblade. But like in terms of like doing the homebrew, I can do homebrew and pirate all this. I don't do that just because you know I think we know too many developers to do any of that.
Yeah,
so,
I mean honestly, like the only reason I would use it would be like for MAME.
Yeah,
like really, really old games, and I have like MAME on my PC. It's like
I also don't feel like I have so many retro collections. Like legitimately, that there aren't really too many old arcade games. I feel like, oh, I wish I could play whatever. You know, like it's just not enough for me to go through the trouble of doing that. You know, like
I've played all those games so many times anyway. Like a lot of times when I go to play them, I play them for literally like 5 minutes and stop.
Yeah, I've done that before. I've gone to
I'll die once. And
like you have like those big retro arcade celebration. We just did one up in San Jose, I think, and like I've been to a couple of those, and I'm like, oh wow, like. I think the last time was I went to one because I was really hankering for whatever reason after the success of Avengers and stuff. I wanted to play Data East Captain America and the Avengers, and there was never a good home version of that. So finally I found there was an arcade one at one of these like little retro places, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm going to put it in Avengers Assemble. And, like I didn't even finish the quarter.
Yeah.
Like I was like, yep, that's Avengers. You know, and I sort of walked away, and like, anyone else want this? Like, you know. They're not the most arresting games ever.
Yeah, I don't find myself going back and playing retro games all that often. I would say probably the majority of them that I would play would be Nintendo games or JRPGs.
Yeah, I have a lot of
They're
virtual
kind of the games
stuff.
that really hold up.
And I also they did like one of those Bundle Stars bundles for the Sega like Mega Drive collection on Steam. It was like $10 for like 20 or something. I got a bunch of those. You can use like Steam Workshop to like download mods that like make you invincible in like Shining Force and stuff. I was like, yeah, I'll do that. They call them chill versions. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna play through Shining Force 2 with like not having to think about anything. That's great. You know, I don't have time to strategize anymore.
I think about a lot of games I'd like to have that for. There some goblins in one of them.
They have those for Phantasy Star. The Phantasy Stars on that, and like a couple, and the Shinobis, and like you just like put it in, like you're basically invincible, and you just sort of walk through the game. And for someone like me who like just sort of wants to re-experience it, like it's kind of a cool way to do it because it's like, like do I really want to like throw myself against the challenge of Revenge of Shinobi? No, I just kind of want to see the stages again and hear the music and fight the bosses.
Really want to grind through like a JRPG or whatever. Yeah,
and that's fun. Yeah, it's nice that they open that up to Steam Workshop for that. Those are all really good. You know, the Genesis games have had a history of very spotty emulation in those collections, going all the way back to the Dreamcast, where they released that collection that had all the sound was wrong, and that one that they're starting to push now to re-release to compete against the little miniature NES. Like that's the same thing that has the terrible emulation. So don't buy that one.
Which actually has been out for like a long time.
Yeah, it's been.
They're just like
repositioning
it now that the mini NES is coming.
But it's terrible. Don't buy it. Just get them on Steam. That collection on Steam is really good emulation.
Yeah. So maybe it'll give a second life to the Vita. I doubt, no matter how popular the hardware becomes, if it sells out, I don't think we're like a developer suddenly gonna be like, well, hey, maybe now I'll make a game for this thing. Like, I don't see that happening. Maybe in Japan, but Japan's still supporting the crap out of that thing.
You might get like some kind of like fan group, you know, like how like what was it? A new Dreamcast game was just released a few years ago, or like
there's like new Atari 2600 games coming out every once in a while.
There was some other like it was a Super Nintendo game came out like recently. You know, I'm sure a scene like that will still exist, but like I can't see Sony really. You know, they didn't. When was the last time they mentioned it?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I mean, it was so funny. I was looking through an old E3 press conference, one of Sony's old E3 press conferences, and man, like their handhelds used to be just featured like crazy. Like they used to just have like huge sections of their press conferences for the PSP and for the Vita for the first couple years. Obviously, this year there was no Vita presence whatsoever at this press conference. Hell, for that matter, they didn't really talk about the PlayStation 4. They just showed games, which I'm totally cool with. But yeah, it's been a changing of the guard for Sony. I don't see Sony getting back into the handheld game in any way, shape, or form. I think it's done. I don't even think Sony does it even make mobile phones anymore.
I haven't checked.
I don't think
recently.
That it.
Ericsson, like I don't.
Yeah, I don't know if they still make phones even. So.
I don't know. I mean, no one can say they didn't try.
Yeah.
But just people weren't interested. I mean, the 3DS sold a lot less than the DS as well. I mean, it's a hard market out there, and Nintendo won.
Yep.
Probably because they were cheaper.
Won.
Well, yeah.
And yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about the NX later on in the show, so we won't get too much into that. But with that, let's get to the Big Six. All right, so by now, if you've been on Sifted, you've probably seen my game eval for Batman, the Telltale series, Batman, a Telltale series. They seem to be switching the title of that game all around. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming they settled on it now, but... So everybody kind of knows my opinion on the game. But Matt, you are a huge Batman fan. Full disclosure, I'm a moderate Batman fan. I know more about Batman than like my mom or my wife. I know far less about Batman than you do. So I'm very interested to hear your take on the game.
Well, interesting.
Episode 1, anyway.
Episode 1, yeah. It's interesting. It's yet another retelling of the Year 1 story, more or less. You know, Harvey Dent is not Two-Face yet. Catwoman and Batman don't know each other, really. Batman is still very early on. He's not friends with the police. Jim Gordon is still a lieutenant, etc., etc. But they're throwing enough... weirdness in there, like a little like alterations to it that I think they're trying to keep it fresh by sort of involving like there's a were Thomas and Martha Wayne, Batman's parents, part of the mob going on, and like early on it looks like a frame up, but then maybe it's not, and you have to decide whether or not to side with Gordon or Vicky Vale at one point, and so you can kind of, and like there's a lot of choices that I think are interesting in that you're allowed to choose how brutal Batman is going to be to the crooks and to the people he's interrogating or beating up or what have you. And I think that's interesting because like normally you can't kill anybody because Batman doesn't kill people unless he's in a Zack Snyder movie. But like overall, like the fact that you can kind of choose like how the myth of Batman is established in terms of is he like playing by the rules and the cops will notice that he's being nonviolent, or is he like breaking arms and sending people to the hospital? Like the public will notice that like, oh, he's a violent monster and maybe he's not any better than the people he's beating up. So like there's that. Although I think there's a bug there.
How much do you think that's going to play out? Because a lot of times when I'm playing Telltale, Telltale games, I sit there and I ponder decisions. Sometimes you can't because I have like a timer or whatever, but. Like, there's one major decision. I'm sure you finished the game, so, you know, they do give you all the time in the world to sit there. And I sat there for, like, 5 minutes thinking about it. Mm-hmm. So I do, like, ponder the decisions probably longer than I should. But then it feels like at the end of the day, like, it really doesn't matter all that much to, like, the overall outcome of the game. Now, there were some decisions I made in conversations where you kind of did see a trickle-down effect. Like, there was one decision I made, and then in the next scene... I was walking, and there was a newspaper laying on the ground, and I picked up the newspaper, and the headline basically said, oh my gosh, we can't believe Batman did this, and it was a decision that I had made prior in the game. But it didn't seem like it went too much farther beyond that.
Well, I think if they are really going to follow this like disgrace of the Wayne family thread like further through more episodes, I feel like what the stuff like that you do is going to become more and more... prominent, and I think like maybe you're going to have to work harder to clear your name or get, you know, if you were breaking, because like the other thing is like I think there's a bug in there somewhere where there's a thug you can interrogate and you have the option to break his arm or not.
Right.
And in the scene after, and I did not break his arm.
Neither did I.
And the cops like looked, you know, the cops like it was like the cops noticed your nonviolent approach or whatever. And then in the scene afterward, Alfred is yelling at me for how badly I beat this guy up and sent him to the hospital.
Same thing happened to me.
And I'm like, that I don't know if that was like just Alfred says that no matter what.
Yeah, happened to me too. He's like, you beat him within like whatever of his life.
I'm like, no, I didn't. I hung him up upside down and I wiggled his shoulder a little bit. Like, what was he?
Same exact thing happened to me.
So I think that's a mistake. I think that's
Which version did you play?
PC.
So did I. So everyone's complaining about the PC version. Like there's the Steam reviews are terrible.
They've gone back up to mostly positive now.
Oh, really?
The patch that went up yesterday or the day before, like apparently fixed. Because I played it last night. Took me 2 hours.
Oh, okay.
Very fast. And I didn't have any of the bugs or performance problems that people were talking about in those reviews.
So you played post-patch?
I played post-patch.
Okay.
The only thing that was left was that Alfred scene, and the codex does not scroll down.
No.
If you scroll at the end of the game, it adds information to like what you found out about all the different characters and stuff. And if you try to scroll down in the codex, it cuts off the bottom of the text.
Gotcha. Now, I played pre-patch. I honestly didn't have hardly any issues. The game did crash to the main title screen twice, but it's very easy to load back up. And it was hard to set the resolution of the game on PC. Like, I would set it to 1080p. I would leave the screen and it would jump back to like some goofy resolution. I guess they were having a problem with like onboard graphics chips, but I don't even have one of those. I hand built my PC, so
that was more of a gaming laptop thing. I think. I think the problem, from what I read, because gaming laptops have usually have an integrated graphics GPU in there, and then a lot of people add their own card, and I guess there was no way to tell the game to use your card and not the onboard graphics processor. But which means you're going to not be able to run it very well.
Right.
But I guess they added a bunch of options.
This game's kind of a resource hog.
It is, and even on I'm working with dual Titan X's. And this thing chugged a couple of times.
Really?
Mostly in scene transitions. I don't feel so
bad now.
Mostly in scene transitions. During gameplay like this, it was fine, but every once in a while it would start a scene with the pan, and it would just
judder.
It would judder down to 15 frames a second. And I'm
that happened to me.
I'm like, bro, no excuse for this. Well, that's the other thing is I find it very strange that after all these years, this is all Telltale does.
I know.
This adventure-style game where it's all story-based, it's all dialogue-based, it's all people talking to each other with intermittent action scenes. How in the world do these characters still walk like PS1 characters?
I know, yeah.
How in the world do they still look like dead-eyed mannequins? How in the world is they're sitting here, people are standing around...
And it looks way better than the last Telltale game.
But they're standing around at a party, and in the background of Harvey giving the speech in the early, the fundraiser at Wayne Manor, you can see up behind him, there's two guys standing behind him. They are identical models.
Yeah.
It's just one of them is black.
Yeah.
And it's otherwise they are identical human beings in the same suit with, I think, different colored ties. And I'm like, how? And then later there's a scene in front of they're breaking ground on a thing, and there's this big, it's that big billboard which lists all the things they're going to do. There's at least 3 typos on that billboard.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how does this go? How do you not better at this by now?
I think part of it, Matt, might be that Telltale went through a meteoric rise. Mm-hmm. And anytime you do that, the people who are at the company that were a part of that rise, it's very hard to let them go. And this is just a total guess on my part. I'm wondering if it just might be that some of the people who have been at Telltale for a long time and maybe built this engine at the beginning are still there, and they're just not that good. And maybe they're in this awkward position of, we'd really like to bring somebody in to build us a new engine, but we have this guy who's worked with us from the beginning and helped us become what we are. I don't know. Otherwise, I have no explanation for it. It's not like Telltale is an overnight sensation. It's been bringing in huge amounts of revenue now for 7-8 years. There's been plenty of time, and you can see the changes. For instance, just the distance blur in these shots we're seeing right now. That's something that wasn't in Telltale games. There's lots of bump mapping and shaders and stuff in the game that wasn't there before. But you're right, when it gets down to the nitty-gritty stuff, its engine just still isn't there. And obviously both of us still had performance issues.
Yeah,
so.
and also it's are they major game-ruining things? No, but when you're dealing with a game that is all about presentation like this,
it's all about the face. The faces are what matter the most. And, there's a little bit of flappy jaw going on, the voiceover doesn't match the facial animation all that well. Here's what really surprised me about this game, though, Matt, is the build-up, all the marketing and everything. And even Telltale's own quote said, this is a game about Bruce Wayne, not Batman. And then I play it, and I'm like, I don't know. It seemed like it was pretty much split right down the middle. Half of it was as Batman, the other half was as Bruce Wayne.
There is definitely a lot more Bruce Wayne in this than most Batman stories or Batman games. And I find that kind of interesting. Bruce Wayne as a character is interesting because there's always a tendency these days to treat Bruce Wayne as the mask.
Yeah.
To treat Bruce Wayne is the person Batman pretends to be when he has to be normal. You know. And in this take on it, it really feels more like Batman is who Bruce Wayne becomes to be his quote-unquote best self, although Alfred doesn't necessarily agree with that. But the character, there's not nearly as much of a split between who Batman is and who Bruce Wayne is, to the point that he even does the thing which Ben Affleck's Batman does too. He has the mechanical voice changer that you see visually see him turn on in his cowl, and then he gets in character. You know, so there's a much more of a Bruce Wayne in almost more than I've seen maybe since the Adam West Batman in terms of mass media presentation.
Yeah.
where like you really feel like this Bruce Wayne, and you are getting to mold who he is to some degree.
Yeah.
You're kind of getting to determine who Bruce Wayne is and how he plays Batman, and possibly later in the series whether Batman takes him over or not. That would be that's an interesting narrative arc, because you can't really tell that story in a comic medium so much, because you don't have the choice that the reader can or the player can make.
Right.
Whereas in this, you could explore that a little bit, and sort of, the end point of this series could potentially end. You could end up with a very different Bruce Wayne Batman persona balance, and that would be an interesting thing to explore as a Batman fan. To me, as a Batman fan, because that's not something that's something that's been a theme in a lot of the works, but it's not something that you've been actively able to influence and see develop in front of your eyes like that. And I think they're doing a pretty good job of that. And Troy Baker's doing a very good Bruce Wayne and Batman. I think the trailer did him kind of a disservice as a holistic performance in this episode. I think he was very good.
How do you feel? One thing I was really impressed with as well about this game was how they did manage to kind of get all of Batman's tenets in there. Mm-hmm. Like, there's the detective stuff, there's the fighting stuff, which I thought was going to be a total disaster. I'd still rather control the action myself,
right.
But
it was pretty good.
Yeah, like I felt like,
especially for Telltale. Like, Telltale is hit or miss with action, but I really felt like I was in it a couple times in some of these fights.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely ratcheted up my heart rate whenever they would happen, and I felt like the quick time prompts that made sense with what was going on screen and were intuitive. I mean, I enjoyed it. It's anytime you have a first episode of any game like this, I feel like you're kind of behind the eight ball in the first episode anyway, because you have to introduce the characters and the plot. I was a little disappointed to see that somebody figured out who Bruce Wayne was in the very first episode of this. I thought maybe that was a little early for that. But I also, at the same time, I felt like it immediately added this extra layer of tension onto the game as well. And I started thinking about this person, like, how is this going to affect the relationship on down the road and things like that. So the story I felt like was a little limp, but also kind of it necessarily needs to be that way. So, I don't know.
A couple of weird, I'm interested to see what they do with it. As a Batman fan, I think it's interesting that Harvey Dent is so big.
Yeah,
Harvey Dent is like 6'6".
Yeah, what's up with that?
I mean, he's huge, and I was like, wow, Bruce could get in him and drive him like a mech.
Yeah.
It's really like he's a large man in this game. So Two-Face is clearly going to be a very imposing figure.
Yeah.
And Oswald Cobblepot, tall, skinny dude.
Yeah.
Not the Penguin. That's not who you think of the Penguin as. So I guess they're going a little Gotham, the TV series, with this one. Which was, and that's an interesting take on the Penguin too. I'm not a huge Penguin scholar, so I don't know if that's like based on anything, especially recently, because I haven't kept up with DC in the New 52 era so
I don't
much.
think anyone has.
Yeah, well, that's part of the problem, isn't it? But I thought that was okay. This could go some interesting places with. There's a lot of the interesting thing about this game to me is that they're trying to really strike at Bruce Wayne more than Batman. Even if people don't know he's Batman, there's a lot of work being done to try to tear Bruce Wayne down as a do-gooder and a kingmaker on his own terms, and how that is going to impact his ability to perform as Batman, because Batman's got to protect Bruce Wayne, too.
Right.
And, I think they're handling that kind of dual identity thing very well so far. I mean, it's a tough balance, and Bruce Wayne can be the most boring part of a Batman story.
Sure.
Without any question, but I don't feel that Bruce Wayne stuff is boring in this.
But I also like how this game kind of calls his, and I don't want to spoil anything because there's a lot of people who haven't played it. A lot of people wait till all these are out.
I normally do too, but we were going to talk about it, so I wanted to get in on it.
And I was surprised how his heritage is called into question in this game.
Yeah, there's definitely, you see, there's little, skeletons in the closet that have popped up about Thomas Wayne and whatever here and there, but usually it turns out that it's like, oh, it looked bad, but it was actually... But in this one, it looks like they might be.
They're steering it that way.
Yeah, they might be besmirching the Waynes a little bit here, and who knows how he's going to deal with it's how far they take that is going to be fascinating. And like you said, there's one decision in this you make that can haunt you in the newspaper and in the future. And I really regretted doing that.
So do I.
Because I was like, I shouldn't have done that. I thought I could get away with it because of the circumstances, but in the end, you're like, oh yeah, no one's going to ever buy that.
But that's the thing. That's the one thing I would say about Telltale's games is when you go to make a decision, you think out the logic of it and what could be all the possible outcomes. And then I feel like a lot of times the game just kind of ignores what a typical person would think about and kind of try to formulate in their mind and just throw something out of nowhere where it seems like the decision that you made, like it didn't really matter. They were going to screw you no matter what. Like, it's almost like the decisions that you make aren't actually really directly related to what the outcome is. Because there's no way you can guess what's going to happen next. Like, what they end up doing is like, well, there's no way I could have guessed that was going to happen. So it's kind of like a cop-out in some ways.
That's life.
Yeah, I guess you're right. That's a good point.
And my other Batman fan take on it is that I'm interested to see how the Two-Face thing unfolds.
Yeah.
Because
they're such allies.
That's because I don't think we've ever seen the relationship between Bruce Wayne and Harvey Dent portrayed with quite this much attention.
Yeah, and reverence really for each other.
And they really do seem like friends in this, where they have been allies. There's been ones where Batman and Two-Face were allies, or Harvey Dent were allies before the Two-Face incident. And I feel like if they play their cards right on this, like the Two-Face situation is going to have some real weight to it.
Yeah.
So I'm looking for. I mean, it wasn't like phenomenal, but like, it felt like they were laying the foundation of something that could get there.
Yeah.
And so I'm much more positive about it after playing it than I expected to be, I would say. Also
weird, the pricing for this thing. So I'm working on the game eval, and I'm going on Steam, and like on Steam, all I could find was $25. You have to buy the whole series at once. I went on PSN, went and looked on Xbox Live. I could not find the ability to buy the episode separately.
Just and then, a separate episode?
And then somebody on Sifted replied and said, oh, no, you can buy the episode separately on PSN for $6, which I don't know if maybe it went live after I had done my game eval.
I didn't see that option on Steam, at least. And even
it's not on Steam still. You have to buy the whole.
Because even through that, all through the thing, I was like, it keeps telling me, like, buy the season pass. I'm like, I already did. Like, I didn't have a choice, frankly.
Right.
So, normally I would wait. For almost every Telltale game in recent years, I wait till the whole thing is out, and then I wait till it's like $7 on a Steam sale, and that's how I do it. Yeah. This one I didn't wait because I knew we were going to talk about it.
Right?
It's also Batman. It's worth talking about, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm not sorry I bought it right now. I mean, if they continue their momentum, it's going to be a great Batman story.
Yeah.
So.
I think it was a good start, an auspicious start.
I would still say wait until we know the whole thing. But
I mean, if you're used to buying these games, these Telltale games, all at once after they've been out for a while, and you can just play one episode to another, because it does suck to play an episode and then wait 2 or 3 months, and there is a cliffhanger in this that...
Of course.
There always is.
They got to get you to buy the next one, even though you already bought the season pass. So
right, exactly. So I understand why people do that. Also, you can end up saving money a lot of times if you wait as well. But it's a big deal. This is probably the most high-profile Telltale game yet.
Yeah, probably at least since Back to the Future, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Back to the Future is sort of what put them on the map in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But this is it's very telling, I think, that DC was willing to trust them with the property in this different continuity, this different direction, as much as they have, especially because there's been a lot of, Batman has been a very tightly controlled property for many years in the Nolan trilogy era, and loosening up a bit is nice. And I even like the logo at the beginning as the bat symbol assembles, and it uses screenshots of comics from starting from his first appearance all the way up to now. And it's like it sets that tone of like, okay, this is sort of, we're going to distill all these stories and all these characters and all this history down into what we think is our take on the Batman.
Yeah.
And so far, I can definitely see that happening.
Yep.
If they follow through on what they've set up in this, I could see myself playing more series of these.
Yep.
If they decide to continue.
So I think we're both in agreement.
But still wait until it's all out. So because this stuff can make a left turn real fast.
Oh, it can. I mean, Minecraft story mode is a perfect example of that. First episode, everyone was all over it, and then just every successive episode after that, people just liked it less and less. So,
you think Telltale plans for the bulk of their audience to buy it after it's all out?
Maybe.
Or do they? Does the bulk of the audience buy
I don't
this
know.
all?
I've never
Like,
seen the
I don't know
numbers. Like,
statistics
because
on that.
Telltale's pretty much all digital.
Right.
There's no way to know. I mean, maybe eventually now that they're starting to use digital data for MPD, we might get an idea of how that stuff does. But
I'd be interested to know that.
yeah, I mean, there's really no way for us to know. I mean, I think there's like Steam Spy or whatever, so maybe you could get a look on there, and
You
maybe
kind of like keep track of it over the course of the release schedule. Yeah,
Otherwise,
I'm not
I
that
don't know how you
interested.
get me either. And on that note, let's move on. We're going to talk about LawBreakers. So I've been in the limited closed alpha for ever since E3. Actually, I got the invite at E3. And basically what they've been doing with LawBreakers, and for those of you who don't know, LawBreakers is a character-driven arena shooter from Cliff Bleszinski. And everybody knows Cliff has a history in that genre. Obviously, he went on to work at Epic
Unreal,
with Gears and everything else. And he started his own little studio called Boss Key. One of my friends, and someone maybe people who are watching this know, Rohan Rivas, who used to be the producer of Pactor Factor, who actually asked a question in Pactor Factor this week, which
I saw that.
was interesting. He's working there. He's like kind of their community manager / media guy. So I have a little bit of a personal connection to the game and to the studio. And what they've been doing is every Saturday, the alpha opens up. It's not something you can play like 24/7 every day of the week. It's just on Saturdays for like a handful of hours, which is, you have an invite and you haven't got to play
Yeah,
yet.
I just haven't had a Saturday where I can do that.
It is hard to
I didn't
set
even know that until I just haven't looked at it.
It's hard to set aside time just to play like one game. And it's a little weird. Like sometimes you get on and there aren't a lot of people on there because if you get on right whenever the alpha starts, like there's tons of people, and then throughout the course of the day people fall off, and so it can take a little longer to get games and whatnot. So I've now done 2 different sessions with LawBreakers, and the other thing they do with the alpha is that they'll introduce a different mode every week. Or not every week, but pretty much every week there's like a new mode, or they've updated the game and there's new features. And so I've played it, I don't know, probably a grand total of 5-6 hours, something like that. And you're seeing it right now. The first thing that comes to mind is the speed. The game is lightning fast, but that's also become my problem. So one thing I've discovered since E3 is that I have become terrible at playing first-person shooters with a mouse and keyboard. And this is coming from somebody who grew up playing first-person shooters with mouse and keyboard. I've spent literally thousands of hours playing first-person shooters on PC with the mouse and keyboard, and I am just terrible at it now. Like, I can't do it.
I admit that's why I bought PS4 version of Overwatch. Is I'm like, I don't know if I can relearn how to play well with a mouse and keyboard again.
And when you're playing this game, you're playing against Cliff and Rohan and the team at Boss Key and all their testers, and they are just merciless. I think we've talked about this on the show before. Like when you get into like a review event or an alpha or a beta, usually just an alpha, and you're playing against like the development team, and whether they should like take it easy on you a little bit. And I mean, they're just ruthless in this game. And the game is really hard to learn. There is so much to the game. The one thing I do really like about the game is the modes. There's one mode where like basically they're all mostly capture and hold variants. But there's one where there's like a battery, and like as you hold the battery charges up. But the thing is like when the other team steals it, the battery doesn't reset. If they get it and get it back to their base, and if you've held it for 90% of the time, they get it back there, they only have to hold it for another 10% to win the round. So it's really intense, man. Like really you dig in on defense because you don't want to lose that battery, and vice versa. So I do like the modes in the game. But the game is so complicated to play. It's like you can shoot backwards in this game, Matt. Like while you're running forwards, you can shoot backwards. There's like anti-gravity sections of the game where there's these like domes that basically turn into 0G, and then it turns into this almost like a tribes game. But I've had and am having the biggest problems learning the controls in this game. Now, you can use a controller, but there aren't enough buttons on a controller for this game. There's just 2. See, so here you're seeing the 0G portion of this map right now. There's like that, you can see like kind of the aura around this area or whatever. So you can like fly up into the air. And learning the controls for this, and again, because I'm completely out of practice with the mouse and keyboard, I'm just getting annihilated, dude. Like, it's not even, like, fun. And then, so I play on my rig at home, and that's, like, my good rig. That's got GTX 980 in it. It's pretty beefy. It's loaded up. The PC I have here has a GTX 770 in it. And, look, a 770 isn't a slouch still. Like, it's still a pretty freaking good graphics card. And this thing, I can't get it to run over, like, 10 frames a second on a GTX 770. I even put it down to, like, I had basically put it down to its lowest settings to play it here on the 770. And it looked like a PlayStation 1 game at that point by the time I had cranked it down. I'm not even exaggerating. Like, it looked that bad. So this game is really demanding on a rig. Like, you need a good rig and a recent video card, or you're going to have problems playing the game. So my other problem with this game, it's a character-driven shooter. And look, we're all familiar with those at this point. Obviously, Overwatch is the gold standard right now. Then there's Battleborn, which we just found out today from 2K's financial report is officially a total flop, and it crushed 2K's financials. The characters in this game are, I can't remember any of them. Any of them. Like, they all, I mean, just watch this. Like, watching this game, can you tell the difference between one character and another you're shooting?
Not really.
You can't. They all look the same, and this is where you see Overwatch's brilliance. It's like every character in that game.
You can tell who was who.
You can see him from 10 yards away, or you can see him from 300 yards away, and you immediately know who that character is. And you know what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, and you know how to approach them. In this game, they just all blend together. And, you know, if you're trying to build a game that you want to sort of penetrate pop culture.
Defensor.
Yeah. That you want to penetrate culture and sort of transcend games. So people are cosplaying as these characters and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. No one's going to cosplay as characters from this game. And if you're trying to build a character-driven game, like, to me, like, that's a huge misstep. And I'm not saying, like, their artist isn't good or whatever. Like, I don't know why it ended up this way. I don't know if it was direction from Cliff or whatever, but every character in the game is just completely nondescript and unmemorable. Now, when you play as the characters, you definitely feel the difference. And, you know, some characters are really fast and they're really good with swords. Some have rocket launchers and they're good from a distance and have, like, a wide splash damage with their weapons. Definitely, as far as playing the game, you can feel the difference between having, you know, using one character or another. But when it comes down to playing against that team and trying to figure out who's who and what abilities they have, it's really, really hard to tell. And there are some, and again, going back to what I was saying about how good the people are that are playing this game, like the developers and whatnot, like, there are some people that will just run up to you and just go, whoosh, 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 bing, and you're just dead. And you're just like, what happened? Like, how did this little skinny female character just kill this, like, dude that's 7 feet tall in, like, a second? And, like, learning the ins and outs of that, obviously, you pick that up over time. But I just don't feel like the game is user-friendly. I feel like it lacks a character, and it's a character-driven shooter. So, I don't know, man. I'm really starting to wonder about this game. Like, I can see brilliance in parts of it. Like, I like the whole concept of the game. I like the base core tenets of the gameplay. It doesn't catch you. It doesn't capture you. It doesn't have that secret sauce in it. You can tell it's been made by veterans who have worked on a bunch of other games. It's a pretty game. It runs like greased lightning. It's just lacking that special sauce. And again, it's pre-alpha.
Yeah, it's got a ways to go.
It's got a long ways to go, which is why it's good to probably offer feedback like this on the game. And it's not even too late for them to rework their character models. They already have the functionality. That's the hard part. I think is this game balanced? Does this weapon overpower everything else in the game? That part's done and pretty solid. It's the cosmetics of the game that, to me, are kind of its biggest issue.
I think they need to work on this, on the silhouettes, basically. Like, the characters need to be identifiable by silhouette better. Like, there's too much kind of the Unreal Tournament, like, battle armor look happening here. And some of that, I mean, some people are just playing duplicates of the characters, which is also going to be an issue. But, like, yeah, I can tell the difference. I can tell the difference between, like, this character and, like, the lab coat character. But, like, I don't know who that is there.
Right. See who he's shooting at there, right there. Like, the next guy, after this is over, the next guy he shoots at, you won't be able to tell the difference between the guy you just saw and the next guy. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's a huge, huge deal. And if you're looking at like marketing and merchandising and things like that, I mean, nondescript dude in a trench coat, like, yeah, that's going to be huge. Like, there's no character in this character-driven game, I guess is what I'm getting at.
I mean, it's better than Battleborn in that regard. But
I don't think it is, though, Matt. I think in Battleborn, I can tell that I don't like the characters. I think the art's really goofy.
Well, some of them, I mean, like the giant guy with the tiny head, I know him from a long distance, and like there's the guy with multiple arms and stuff.
The mushroom guy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Battleborn, I don't think the art's better. I think the art's really crappy in Battleborn. But when I'm facing off against somebody, I know who the hell it is. I know what their powers are. I know what their abilities are. And I know what to look out for. I know when to jump in and attack. In LawBreakers, it's just everyone's got a gun, a real gun. Like, I don't know, man.
Well, they've got a while, and I think, you know, as long as they're open to that
I mean,
feedback,
look, they've been working on this game for 2 years now, by the way.
Mm-hmm. But that kind of character thing is A, fairly new, and B, really hard to nail.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, obviously,
hopefully they're willing to listen to feedback on this. I don't know if you're the only one who thinks so, but
most people aren't even talking about this game. Like, podcasts, whatever, like this alpha's been going on since E3. Everyone's been playing it since E3, and no one's really reported on it. And to me, I mean, obviously it's not the biggest game, but it is Cliff Bleszinski's new game. And it has been a really slow last couple of months. Like, there's been plenty of opportunities for someone to talk about this, and I just wonder if it's because people just don't have a really strong opinion on the game.
Maybe.
It's just kind of there. And now you see, today they showed Quake Champions for the first time. That's going to be competition for this game. Overwatch is going to be competition for this game. 15 million people playing Overwatch now, they announced today.
Going to continue, too.
So trying to, and it's going to become this big esports thing, and it's like, I almost wonder if it's too late for LawBreakers.
I wouldn't want to be competing in that genre right now.
And I mean, in its current state, the way it looks now, to me, it is way too late. Because how can you pull people away from Blizzard's game with the way LawBreakers looks right now? Mm-hmm. And it is going to be a little cheaper. I think Cliff said it's going to be $30, if I remember correctly. At first, I think it was going to be free to play. Mm-hmm. And then he kind of went back on that and said, no, I don't like the connotations that come along with free-to-play games, and I get that.
But I mean,
a lot of people just hate free-to-play.
Overwatch is so based around the characters, and the fandom is so devoted to the characters and like the lore that goes around them, and like everybody freaks out and huge explosions on Twitter and Tumblr when like new lines for them go up, or new little like dialogue interactions like during matches, and like it's what the fandom lives for. It's it's what they love, and like the Olympic. I thought the Olympics like DLC thing they put up was looked ridiculous, but everybody loved it. Like everybody,
even blatantly ripped off Rocket League.
And and it's just like, well, as long as they keep feeding content to that user base, it's almost a World of Warcraft situation. It's like, what are you going to do? You're not going to pull people away from that by doing the same thing, but not as good.
I mean, the other part of it, too, is that it's only a PC game. As of right now, LawBreakers is not announced for any console. It's only, and again, that's probably a product of them being a smaller team and not having the resources to...
That is a tough market to crack.
I mean, Quake Champions. That's really what I got to say. I mean, that game probably will be coming out around the same time as LawBreakers if they stick to the schedule they're on right now. And Overwatch, obviously, is already on PC. So I feel bad for them in some ways, because this game was started, and Overwatch, I don't even know if it was announced at that point. I think Overwatch was announced like a couple weeks after I started working on Sifted in earnest, or maybe it was a couple weeks after Sifted launched.
I think it was a couple weeks after launch.
Yeah, I think maybe the first it had been announced, people knew about it, but the first trailer hit. Yeah. And see, the other thing that Overwatch did was develop the characters and make you care about the characters. They put out all that first cinema. They showed like the whole team. And when I was watching, I didn't even know what was going on. Now, in hindsight, knowing all those characters and thinking about that very first cinematic trailer, I'm like, oh, wow. Like, Blizzard was on it right out of the gate. It's like, we need to make people care about these characters.
You got to make people want to play as them.
Yeah. And what you're seeing with LawBreakers is they're doing character profiles, but it's not like they're not cinematic.
Right.
Because they probably don't have the budget to pay some CG house to go out and create CG for all their characters. So they're just doing like character profile videos where they show off like their attacks and their abilities.
At the same time,
which Blizzard also did.
I don't think you necessarily need big cinematic like CG stuff like that, but you do need to give them a little personality in terms of not just the look, but in terms of one of the things that makes Overwatch work is everybody in that game has a history with one another,
right.
and like piecing together who they are to each other and how they react to one another is sort of part of what the fandom does. Like, not having a campaign has almost benefited that game because it's turned the whole lore of that game into like a detective story for the fandom. And there's a whole chunk of the fandom that just plays it for that.
Yeah,
and
but Blizzard has kind of laid the groundwork, though.
Right.
I mean, they've done separate character trailers for a lot of the characters that literally have like full-on CG sequences. That
what I'm saying is, like, I think LawBreakers comes off to me as like as experts at the mechanics of multiplayer gaming, doing what they do best. But I feel like while that should be there, that's not all you need now. I think Overwatch changed that game.
Well, the variety in Overwatch is amazing, man. Like, every character is flippin' different. Like, no two characters play the same. Like, even all the support characters have their own quirks and their little things. There's characters that turn into turrets. There's a guy who can throw down his own turrets. Like, there's nothing like that in LawBreakers. And I just feel like they are facing an uphill climb with this game. I don't even know if it were free to play, if it would mitigate any of those issues. Still feel like they'd be there. But, I mean, on the flip side of all this, I do have a lot of faith in Cliff. He's made a lot of great games. And look, I feel like his part of it, the gameplay part, is really good. I suck at it, particularly playing against them, but the mechanics are there, and they do work. You can watch other people play it. Like, when you watch a couple really good players go at it, sometimes I just stop playing and just watch. Like, when they're in 0G, and I'm just watching them go at it, I'm like, I can't do that. It's way too complicated for me. And, I mean, I don't know if they're looking for a casual audience with this game. If they are, good luck, because it is one of the least casual games I've played in a really long time. But it's just a really tough market to be in right now. Even 2K, with all its marketing and advertising money, is finding that out. That a lot of times there's only room for one huge shooter, and it'll be interesting to see. And Pachter talked about this a couple weeks ago on Pachter Factor, how Battlefield 1 and Titanfall 2, how that all plays out. EA this week said it expects to sell 14 to 15 million copies of Battlefield 1, expects to sell 8 to 9 million copies of Titanfall 2. So it's kind of already laid its cards on the table as far as what its expectations are. But at the same time, look, this is like a Nexon game. It's really Nexon's first game like this, to back like a high-profile developer. I'm assuming the expectations aren't that it's going to sell 10 or 15 million copies.
No.
I mean, it's a small team.
And, it could happen that by the time this comes out, I think there are a lot of people playing Overwatch that have never played a competitive shooter before. They were pulled in by the lore and the characters. And I think you might be getting, around the time LawBreakers comes out, and Quake, to be fair, you might be getting around the time where some of those people are like, oh, maybe I'll try another one. Maybe I'll just add some variety, because, it's kind of a gateway thing. If you can pull them in with a vibrant character roster in LawBreakers over what Quake is going to offer, that could be the difference there.
Quake has that cachet, though.
It does, but not to the people. I mean,
watching that trailer today, I got the chills.
Not to the people who are making Overwatch the giant hit it is, though. Those people never played Quake. They don't care.
You're right.
But again, who knows what their approach to Quake is? If Quake can pull some, Quake 3 did have some crazy, memorable characters in it.
Yeah.
Like they've proven they can do that. Everybody remembers that eyeball thing.
Well, that was in the trailer today.
Yeah. So that's what you're up against, and if you just got a bunch of guys running around in boots and armor.
I mean, that's pretty much what we've got with LawBreakers. So,
Cliff's a really smart guy. I'm sure he knows what he's doing and what he wants out of this game. And if he really doesn't want to lean on the characters, I feel like he has time to make them more distinct.
Yeah,
if he wants to.
Yeah, and again, it's tough because I'm good friends with Rohan, and I want his game to do well. I want his game to do really freaking well. But I'm just being honest, based upon what I played. I think that's my job for you guys. I got to be here and be honest.
I think that's constructive criticism if it's a direction that they want to be taking it in. And it sounds like it is. I mean, if it's a character action game in that regard.
Yeah.
there's time to make them a little more distinct, or a little more, to test that out, because it sounds like the game mechanics are already there.
Yeah.
And it's all about the personality now.
There's also little weird things, like, I don't want to beleaguer any of this, but, like, there's health stations in the game. Like, stations that you go to like, refill your health, which seems really out of place in today's market. Like, I don't know.
You prefer, like, pickups or something?
Yeah, I mean, I think Overwatch handles it pretty well.
The pickups?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But here
Kinda
it's like...
scattered. You have to like go back to a base kind of thing? Or
No, they're like scattered around the map. So you just walk up to a terminal and stand there and like refill your health.
It seems like something to camp.
Right, right. Just sit there next to the terminal or whatever. So I wish them luck. I mean, they are in alpha, so it's not like the game is all that far off. I mean, right, long way to go, but they're letting other people play their game now.
Yeah,
so
but a lot can happen.
Yeah, and I hope it does. So we'll see. But just figured I'd share my experience playing the game so far. As always with an alpha, no opinions are final. All right, let's move on. All right, we're going to talk about another game. I wrote 2 evals in like 2 days this week because both games were extremely short. Yeah, so the other game that I evaluated for this week was Abzu. Still not 100% sure that I'm saying it correctly.
Yeah, that's right.
After playing the game, I still have no idea what that means.
I don't remember.
Have you figured it out?
No, it's another language. I don't remember what the language it was, but it basically means something water, wisdom of water or something like that.
Oh, okay. Is that like a real word?
So it's a real language.
Okay.
Yes,
Gotcha.
it's like I don't remember what language it was, but when I saw it at E3, they told me what it was. It's an actual foreign language that means one ab and zoo. It's 2 words.
Gotcha,
it means something water. I think it was wisdom of water or something like that. I don't know. I'm sure the chat will tell us.
Yeah. So let's talk about this game, and maybe to qualify things, we should both share how much or how little we liked Journey, because this game is very much like Journey.
I liked Journey. I didn't go crazy over it. It was nice.
I think I'm right there with you, actually.
Music was great. I really I'm like, oh, that was a really cool experience. A really neat thing they did. I specifically remember coming into work the next day, and everyone was like writhing on the floor, orgasmic over Journey, and Morgan and I were like, yeah, it was good, but what? Like, I didn't think it was mind-bogglingly amazing. I thought it was a very logical progression from Flower for that game company.
Yeah. And just so you know, I believe the creative director from Journey is worked on Abzu.
I think it was the art director.
Art director.
It's the art director.
Now he's the
creative director for Abzu, and it also has the same composer.
Right, and he was the art director before. Yeah. The music in this game is amazing, by the way.
The music's great.
Amazing.
The audio is really
the sound design, everything, the audio in this game, to me, really sells the freaking game. Like, it's what ties everything together. So, obviously, everyone kind of knows my opinion on this. I wrote the game eval. It just went up yesterday. It's up on the site if you guys want to read it. Matt, what's your impressions of Abzu?
I like it. I like it better than Journey. Because I love underwater, like, sea life stuff. I think it could have been longer.
Yeah.
I'm not against, like, the short 2-hour kind of experience, but, like, I feel like this sprints to the finish a little too fast.
I felt like just when I started to figure out, just when it got intriguing, I guess. I mean, not that the concept itself isn't intriguing right out of the gate, but once
you figure out what it's about.
Well, you started figuring out, like, what's going on, and then it just ends.
Yeah.
Like, literally, you finally kind of have that revelation moment where you're like, oh, okay. And then literally, like, it ends right then.
Yeah, I think it needed a couple. I mean, I would have probably tried to go for 2 more chapters to give it a little breathing, because I think the pace at which you first discover, like, kind of the first big concrete, like, elements of what's happening are good. But then, like the middle moves real fast.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you've got, like, 1 more chapter where you sort of deal with the outcome of that, and then the last chapter is just like a celebration of fish.
Pretty much, yeah.
And that's like... And that's cool,
well,
but
I mean, kind of the whole game is really a celebration of fish.
But I needed, like, a couple more...
There's a box quote for you. A celebration of fish.
I think you just... I needed a couple more breaths in it. You know what I mean?
Did you find yourself bored at all playing this game?
Only in the... I was bored in the... well, not bored, but like... I wasn't interested in like this where you go into like the big techno areas and like there's these like tetrahedron mines that go up and you can't die and you don't have a like
there was no point.
It's just annoying.
That's all it is.
Like, yeah.
Because if you hit the proximity mine, it shocks the living crap out of you.
But it doesn't do anything.
But you don't die. Because you cannot die in the game.
No.
The fish do not attack you.
No.
They attack something else.
They can eat the other fish.
Right. They attack each other. And then they attack your little robot buddy at one point.
Yeah.
But they never... So there's no tension in the game. Mm-hmm. And that didn't bother me that much when there was, like, actually stuff happening. You know, like those crazy, like, jet stream sections where you're just kind of flying and you're trying to, like, catch the schools of fish. Like, that was really exciting. But I found myself at a couple moments when there was just nothing going on, bored. Mm-hmm. I was like... Is there more to the game than this? And then slowly they did kind of incorporate a little bit more, but really it didn't change all that much. What you saw changed, but what you were doing never really changed.
No, you get the gist after like probably the first 2 sections. Like you're going to dive into the pool and do the thing and bring all the fish out, and then sometimes you're going to activate a chain drum thing that never runs out of chain for some reason. And it's like, it was really rudimentary. It also kind of felt like some of it, like maybe it was originally co-op a little bit. Like some of it felt like maybe there was some co-op elements that ended up getting cut and now it's just a single player thing.
That's what I thought too, because all the puzzles, you can tell is obvious, like, the puzzles, I'll just spoil it, because it's not really that big of a spoiler anyway. All the puzzles in the game pretty much are you flipping a switch, 2 switches, that will release chains that will then move and open up the door that's blocking the way. And so you have to like swim all the way over to one thing, release the chain, swim all the way over to the other one, release the chain. Like to me, it looks pretty obvious. At one point, they at least considered having co-op in the game. Obviously, ultimately, that was not the case. But yeah, there was definitely some moments where I found myself kind of yawning and being like, I don't know. But at the same time, there were some moments in this game that were completely, almost overwhelmingly exhilarating. Mm-hmm. And it's the weirdest... It's very smartly designed. Like, it knows... The developers knew. It's almost like they deprive you of fun so that when it does give you that little inkling of fun, it has all the more impact. Like, the moments where you, like, are riding a fish, and the fish jumps out of the water, and, like, that 2-second shot where it goes to that third-person shot, and you see you and the fish jump out of the water together, it's like there's just something about it. It just... Mm-hmm. I don't know, because I think you go into the game and you wonder if, like, the fish are your allies. Mm-hmm. And it takes a little while before you figure out that, oh, yeah, like, they're not trying to hurt me, and I can't hurt them. And then there's a couple moments where they show the character, like, being affectionate with the fish. Like, it's a very subtle game. Mm-hmm. Like, overall, everything about it is very subtle. It doesn't beat you over the head with anything, pretty much. And I think on that level is where it really works, and that's where kind of the emotional payoffs are. I think I said in the game eval that it's a game of moments. Like, there's so much stuff about this game that I'll completely forget, but there's also, like, 5 to 10 moments in the game that I'll never forget. Like, just these little things that happen, and I feel like because it creates, like, such a contrast, because nothing happens that when something does happen, you're like, oh, wow. Like, holy cow. Like, I don't know at the end of the game, the last sections, if you use, I don't want to spoil it for everybody, if you used your buddy to help you get through the end of the game. Yeah. You did. So there's that moment where you and your buddy, like, jump out of the water, and you get an achievement for it when it happens. Did that happen for you? I
got an achievement for riding my buddy.
No, there's something else that happens.
You mean the bigger thing?
Yeah, it's hard to talk about this without spoiling anything.
It's I mean, that's a lot. There's a lot of good stuff. There's a lot of stuff in that area. Actually, if you poke around, there's some hidden stuff in there.
Yeah. Overall, there's not much of a reward for exploring in this game, though. I didn't feel like
not too much. And also, if you go, I went back again and picked up the there's the shells you can collect, and I went back and picked up the ones I missed. And like do it once you go back because all the stuff stay. Shells you've collected remain, and the little pools that let more animals out, like those stay activated.
Yeah.
So when you go back through it, you're like, oh, there's nothing to do.
Yeah.
Frankly, like once you get everything, like you can go back and kind of watch it again, but like there's not really anything else to do. And it would have been I don't know.
I mean, there wasn't a whole lot to do in the first place, really.
No, but I mean, there was enough you were
to string
activating
you
something,
along.
you were changing the environment, you were doing something. And in the subsequent playthrough, or when you replay things, you're basically just watching things again, or activating things that let you move on. And I don't know. I'm a bit of a connoisseur of the scuba diving, underwater sea life kind of thing. I own a copy of Aquanauts Holiday: Hidden Memories for PS3, the Korean one that has the English, goes for like $300 now on eBay. I mean, I play these games.
What was the Wii one?
Endless Ocean.
Endless Ocean, yeah.
Which I played it on Dolphin, and it's amazing. The sequel, the second one. I played through both of them on the Wii when they originally came out. I love these. I have World of Diving in VR. I have Subnautica. I love the underwater stuff because it terrifies me in real life. So that's really the only way I'm going to do it. And like I just would have, I like that you can like meditate and sort of like watch the fish and see the names of everything and all that. I wish there was a more robust sort of cataloging system or something where you could kind of scan them or something.
Like they should have there should be like a Pokedex for this game where once you discover like a creature, like it gets added into your book or whatever, and like that would have given it's so simple. Give this game replay value. Just give the list of possible fish, and let people try to find them.
Even if you don't get to do that until after you finish the game,
right?
Like
you go back and start looking for these fish and trying to find them.
Especially because look, if you love underwater life, and not to blow anything, but if you love underwater life that isn't around anymore, there's a lot in this game.
I mentioned in the eval that some of the creatures are extinct.
There's some prehistoric stuff that shows up eventually, and it's amazing. Like they did such a good job.
It's like the closest thing you'll probably ever get to seeing these animals like alive, even with this art style that they use, which is really cartoony and whatnot.
But it works.
The animation, like there's the one that has the really long neck, and watching that animal swim through like reeds, it was amazing. Like. Again, that's one of the moments I'll always remember.
There's a couple of places where an animal with a spine bent a way that an animal with a spine cannot bend. But that's just the nature of kind of like the algorithm they're using here. For the 99% of the time, it works incredibly well.
Were you surprised how little of the game took place on land after all the screenshots and stuff they had put out for it?
No.
No?
Was there land screenshots and stuff?
No,
I did see the one. There's like a bug in it where. By default, the controls are inverted, like flight style.
I changed that
too. And if you, which I play inverted anyway, so but I've read that if you are doing non-inverted and when you get out of the water, the land controls are inverted. So you have to push down to walk forward.
I can see why they didn't put too much into the land stuff because it's not good.
When they just walk It's mainly to be like, I bet you didn't think to look at it for a shell out of the water. Later, it's a late game sort of switcheroo.
Yeah.
I liked it. I was not sorry I spent the $15 on it with the PlayStation Plus discount. I played through it twice now. It took me about 2 hours the first time.
15's fine. 20, which is the
standard retail price,
too much in my opinion.
Maybe.
I think it's too much.
I wouldn't call it too much just because I like the subject matter so much. But if you're not like a big fan of underwater stuff, it's not going to make you one.
Yeah. The amount of fish in the game at certain points, amazing, mind-boggling. Like you come across some schools of fish that are literally like the size of a building.
Oh yeah.
And you can swim right into them, and you just have literally just thousands of fish swimming right at your face, and that frame rate never even hitches, man. Like.
That's called a bait ball.
I mean, look, it's... Yeah, and there's one point where the whale comes up and
whale's coming up and swallow. And you've got like the birds, pecking away at it, and like the sharks are coming by, and the swordfish. It's really well done.
There's like a food chain in most of the areas.
You're like David Attenborough documentaries. You're going to be like, I've seen all this. This is great. It's a great recreation.
Yeah. And what I loved about this game, too, is that it took me back to my childhood a little bit, because when I was a kid, I really thought I was going to be a zoologist. And I used to compete in all these... what they were called, like, science field days where I grew up, where literally you would go and compete over wildlife. Like, you go out into the woods and identify animals and and I was, like, way into it. And so this game kind of took me back to my childhood a little bit, because every time you discover an animal, I was like, okay, what is that? Trying to remember, like, what the species was. And there's so many fish. I was actually pretty impressed with how many I did remember.
I remember when I did the demo with the creative director at E3. I can't remember his name, though. Damn it. But his name is Matt. His first name is Matt. I don't remember his last name. But I did the demo, and when you release creatures from the pools in the final game, it shows the name of the creature in the corner. It didn't do that in the E3 demo.
Wow.
And when I activated one, and all these turtles came out, I'm like, oh, hey, leatherback turtles. And he's like, that's right.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I know this stuff. I love these things.
It's shocking how much you remember from, like, middle school.
But there was one, I can't remember the name now, but there was one pool early on. You released these tiny little porpoises.
No, I did that.
I don't remember what the name was, but I never heard of them before. And I'm like, what is that? I don't know what that. And I looked it up, and I learned about a new kind of porpoise from this game, and they're adorable. Like, you want to have one to keep in your backyard or something. They're these tiny little, like, they look like if Hello Kitty designed a dolphin.
Yeah.
Like, it would look like this thing.
One thing I would say is that I feel like the trailers ruined a lot of this game.
You've seen a lot, of the big moments.
Because going back to what I was saying about how it's a game of moments, and there's like 5 or 10 things that are like always going to stick with me.
They shouldn't have shown that blue whale thing.
No way, dude. That was a huge mistake. I will say, though, that it still affected me.
Oh, it's still good,
when it happened. But if I had not seen that in the trailer, like, I may have just melted. Like, it literally is so impactful, man. Like, it just...
There's a couple things in there that you don't see in the trailers, and I was
like
glad
the shot
of that.
right here is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Like, that, I wish I had never seen that before I played the game. And now everyone's seeing it on the show, and now it's spoiled it for them, too.
Ruined everything. There's enough in here that was not in the trailers to make it worthwhile, but there's a couple things.
Oh, for sure.
There's that balance of, like, do we show off the awesome stuff or do we hold it back? And they held back some awesome stuff, but that blue whale thing is one of the most awesome things.
That's the best moment in the whole game, in my opinion, even after I had seen it already.
I don't think so. I think...
You think the end reveal is better?
I think the thing at the end is
Really?
better.
I don't know. I mean, and now I'm watching this trailer again. Like, really, like 80% of the best moments are.
There's a lot of good stuff in this trailer, and you kind of don't realize how much of it is here.
Well, you didn't know it when you were watching the trailer. You just assumed there'd be tons and tons more of it. But at the end of the day, when the game's 2.5 hours long, it's only going to have so much. So
yeah, I mean, I liked it. I didn't go as crazy for it as I was kind of expecting, because I thought there would be a little more. And
Did you like it more or less than Journey?
I like it more than Journey. But
I did as well.
But I liked it more in part because I like fish better than walking through the desert.
Yeah, honestly, I felt like Journey. I was like, I could get together a group of guys and probably make Journey. I don't feel that way about this game at all. Like, this game,
there's some technical miracles happening in here in a couple places that's really cool to see. And I mean, my only real serious criticism would be, like, I would have let it breathe for a couple more chapters, and I would have put a scanning mini game in it for, like, replay value after the game was finished, to be like, okay, go back and find all the creatures. I think that would be fun.
Well, they do have, like, the meditation thing.
Yeah, and you can... But
I only found, like, for whatever reason, 3 meditation shrines the whole time.
I found all of them.
I only found, like, 3 of them.
I have all the trophies in this game already. I mean,
really?
It only took me, like, an evening. Like, it's super short. I mean, it's super short, super simple. As long as you're looking for stuff, you'll find it for the most part.
Yeah.
Which I was like, oh, I don't know where this, like, the second shell is in this one area. And I look it up, it's like, of course, it's like, the game's been out for about 4 hours, and of course,
there's already a guide with everything.
No, there was no guide.
Oh, really?
I couldn't find anything, and so I had to just go poke around. And I did eventually find them all. I found a thread on I think it was PlayStationTrophies.org, and that was where somebody asked about the same shell I was looking for, and I found it that way. But, like, for the most part, this is real easy to kind of do yourself.
Yeah.
Should only take you about 4 hours to do everything, I would say.
Yeah. I enjoyed my time with it. It was unique. I know when doing the game eval for value,
it's a tough call.
I gave it a good score in value because there just aren't any other games like it. Mm-hmm. It's, other than Journey or Flower,
Or you go the other way and it's like, World of Diving or Endless Ocean, but like there's nothing quite like it.
This has like more mystery and intrigue to it, though. There's like, what's going on here? It's one of those games that doesn't tell you hardly anything about it, and you kind of got to figure it all out. And so this game got a little bit of a bump in its value score from me because it is something different and unlike. And I mean, even
I can definitely see myself going back to it like maybe once a year.
I don't think
it again.
I think it may be a game that if people come over, I may put headphones on them and be like, "Hey, play this." But I don't see myself going back.
I will go back and play this probably every year or 2 years just to like do it again.
Yeah.
Especially if I pick up the PC version cheap eventually. And if they put the soundtrack out on vinyl, I will buy that.
I think it is.
Is it
coming out on vinyl? Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll keep an ear out because the audio in this is crazy.
It is really
good.
incredible.
Incredible work.
Not just the music, like the sound design.
Yeah,
and
everything
is just so great. Like. Yeah, wear headphones when you play this game if you pick it up. I highly recommend it. Let's move on. So this week we had a hardware launch, Matt.
Really?
Yeah. Xbox One S.
No Man's Sky.
Oh. I did it again. I jumped ahead.
Jumping the gun. You hate the number 4.
I do. You're right. It is the same topic every time I jump ahead. It's always the 4th topic. So there was a leak this week. How did you feel about that, Matt? Obviously, you've talked about No Man's Sky on the show a ton, and you're really excited for it. I'm just talking about the whole fallout. So let's recant the story here and explain kind of what happened. So, a gentleman, a lad, somebody somehow got one copy of No Man's Sky early, which is really bizarre.
Yeah, well, this came right after people had started posting photos of boxes full of them in distribution warehouses. So I'm thinking it was a fell off the truck situation.
Right, someone in a distribution place.
If you've got boxes of a few hundred copies of this thing, no one's going to notice if you stick one under your jacket. I guess is the theory there.
And somebody did. Only one. There's only one copy out there. It's really bizarre.
There were more later.
They're right, but at first there was just this.
First
one
it was just
copy.
the one. On eBay.
Guy puts it on eBay. Did it sell for $1,300 or $2,000?
I heard $2,000. Later I heard it was $1,200.
I've seen reports all over the place.
I don't know.
We'll just say he spent over $1,000
more money
for
than
it.
he should have. He spent Star Citizen money on this thing.
Yeah, he did. So he spent at least $1,000 on this copy off of eBay. I'm also surprised that nobody stepped in and stopped the sale on eBay. Can publishers not do that? Can they not go to eBay and be like, "Yo, this game isn't out yet"?
Well, somebody asked Sean Murray about that on Twitter, and he responded with an emoticon that was just a shrugging smiley face.
What does that mean?
I guess it's just not worth it. Who cares?
Yeah. Well, he cares.
Well, yeah, he cares
because he freaked out.
He was saying like, "Don't watch it, don't ruin it for yourself." But it's like, what? You're not going to win yourself any favors by like going after some dude.
Yeah.
Trying to, it's not worth it. It's just bad PR.
Yeah. So.
It's not like he was like pirating, 1,000 of them and selling them for a penny each on Green Man Gaming or something, or G2A or.
Yeah, I mean, but you look at it from Nintendo's perspective and how they are on YouTube with their media and stuff like that. I mean, it wouldn't be all that far-fetched for them to contact eBay and be like, "Stop that sale."
Yeah, well, let's not take Nintendo as how to do it.
Gold standard.
Kind of gold standard when it comes to dealing with your fans on social media.
Yeah, I agree with that 1,000,000%. So he buys the game for at least $1,000. It comes in, he puts up this video of him unboxing it, praying to God it was real. It is real. It actually is a legit game.
I was actually happy for him.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, good.
Yeah, dude, you spent so much. I have a little Schadenfreude going on, though. There's a little part of me that was like, you know what? Like, if you're dumb enough, maybe you need to learn a valuable lesson here.
Maybe.
Like, don't be the sucker.
Maybe. Maybe it was just the first-person perspective of the video.
Yeah. Where like, that could be me.
Yeah.
So anyway, he puts up the video of him opening it up. It's legit. It's the real game. He pops it in and starts playing. Starts uploading footage to Dailymotion, I think he was uploading stuff to. Yeah. Horrible quality, I might add. Get a capture something, bro. If you're going to break the first footage of No Man's Sky.
PS4, for God's sake. Like, just stream it.
It looks so bad. But so he puts up some gameplay videos. Basically what happens is people watch the videos, and a lot of them become distraught, disheartened, just from watching the footage. Because I feel like a lot of people have kind of built this game up in their mind, and to be a little bit like what we just talked about with Abzu, this game where you don't know anything about it, and maybe there's some magical something going on inside there that we don't know about. people watch the guy's gameplay videos, and it basically, the game looks exactly like what everybody thought it was going to look like, which that's the way most games are.
Yeah.
Like, you look at all this media, and the game ends up being what the media says it is.
Surprisingly, it's exactly what the developer said
it was. Yeah. So people freak out over it, like, and then Sean Murray starts coming back saying, "Oh, don't spoil it." How do you feel about all this, Matt? Are you disappointed that there isn't some secret thing about the game?
No. I mean,
there isn't. I mean, are you okay with what is there?
Yeah.
Really?
I'm interested in the game because of what it is, not because of what I think it might be.
Yeah.
I mean, my only question is, how does it feel to play it?
Right.
Like, if it feels like a Euro jank, if this is like Gothic 2 and like none of it works right, no matter how good the game is, like if you have to like fight with the controls and like kind of force yourself to kind of like fight through this barrier of interface to get to like the creamy center, like that's going to annoy the hell out of me. Like that's the only. I mean, I know what this game is. You're walking around, you're gathering resources, you're upgrading your stuff so you can go to another planet and walk around and gather your resources and scan some stuff and upgrade your stuff so you can get further out to. I know exactly what I'm going into here. I mean, I'm hoping the variety is there, and the thing that I thought was funny was one of the things people were complaining about was that there was too much life. That there weren't enough barren planets. That like Sean Murray had said that there were going to be like maybe 1 out of 10 planets would have like life on it, and like this guy's like videos indicated that like it was way higher than that. Not that everything was like this huge. Like the trailers show, like this place is just teeming with hundreds of species of things. They're not all like that, but it's like it's not that hard to find little creatures or whatever elsewhere. And like there was even a demo I saw where Sean Murray said like, "Oh, this planet has no life on it," and then he ended up falling in some water and there were fish there. He's like, "Oh my God, there's fish on this planet." Yeah. And it's like, yeah, because life finds a way, as Jeff Goldblum has taught us. And so like I feel like I have a pretty realistic idea of what this game is. I don't, my disappointment potential for this game comes from, does it feel good to play or not? If it feels like kind of this like half-baked
I honestly
thing,
don't think that I would be the least of my worries, I guess is the way I would put it.
I'm not too worried about it, but that's like my X factors because I haven't touched it.
Yeah.
Almost nobody's touched it.
Yeah.
That's the gameplay, not in terms of what you do, but the gameplay in terms of how you do it and how it feels. I mean, I already saw that like the run, you click the right stick to run, which I'm like, well, I'm changing that as soon as I get in there. What the hell is that about?
It's really weird. Yeah. What was that?
That's his like mining tool, so like he can just make
it blows
make
a big old hole there.
That'll get the Sentinel's attention, boys.
I mean, that looks a little janky to me.
I think it's a lot of it's very weird in the sense that like holes are instant and there's no like rubble.
Yeah.
There's no, I mean, I guess you're vaporizing it, but there's not even any like particle effect from it.
It just the hole magically appears.
And I do think this game is going to be a work in progress. So, they've already talked about they're working on the first patch with new content stuff and all this thing. I think they are going to upgrade this thing as they go. They clearly it works, but they need more to do, and you can always change the seating and how some of that works and make some additions to it. So I'm looking forward to sort of exploring, looking around, doing stuff like that, and nothing in this leak indicates to me that I was wrong about that.
Yeah, no. I mean, to be honest with you, everything in the leak is everything that they said. They weren't dishonest. Mm-hmm. They didn't.
And I'll say this as
elaborate
well.
on things that aren't there.
I'll say this as well.
They describe the game as it is.
I don't see a lot of people who are like in threads like excited about the game doing that.
Yeah.
I don't see a lot of people like making up stuff that I have not heard Sean Murray or other Hello Games people say. I don't see a lot of, I'm going to be able to build a castle on a planet and take over a space station and rule the universe thing.
Matt,
most of it just comes from people that seem to not understand how procedural generation works.
Yeah. I think it's not that people expected there to be some secret about the game that was something that wasn't spoken about by the developers. I think they were just hoping that there would be. And I think what you're seeing is people disappointed that it ultimately ended up being exactly what they said it was going to be and nothing more. Because I think people look at this game...
So normally we have people screaming about how developers lie to us, and now that one didn't lie to us at all, that was wrong.
But let me elaborate a little bit. I think people look at this game and think it's not enough. They're like, that can't be all there is. Because I think a lot of people look at it, and I'll be honest, like I feel a little bit this way. I look at it and it doesn't look that much fun. It looks like something that you kind of meander around and fiddle with here and there, but not something that like just kind of grabs you and like pulls you in. And I think people were hoping, because the game looks so awesome. I mean, I love the art style and the worlds that they've created. I think people were just hopeful that there might be something more to it than what there really is.
What
and
more
they're
to
not,
it?
And they're disappointed, and they're dealing with their disappointment in a very disappointing way.
But what more to it? That's what I don't understand.
Just some kind of real goal to it, or some kind of...
Get to the center.
Some
That's
kind
the goal.
of tension or strife or something. Like, it's just
Kill enough
very...
stuff or mine enough stuff and the Sentinels come after you. There's your tension.
Yeah.
Like, what else do you want? Like, I don't understand what else people want. Like, that's what they said it is. That's what the game is what you're supposed to do. What else is there supposed to be?
Yeah, I'm almost feeling like this game is a little bit like Spore.
I think that's a disingenuous comparison.
No, I don't mean
because
like the
Spore,
actual game itself. I mean the way people thought Spore was going to be and the way it ended up ultimately being.
Somewhat. But, like, I don't agree with that because the people that I know that, like, were excited about this game and have been looking forward to this game, no one is doing that. The way Spore... Everyone thought Spore was... I mean, also the reason they thought Spore was going to be that was because that's what they fucking told us it was going to be. Like,
by the time Spore came out...
They oversold what Spore was going to be very early on.
And but eventually they came to Jesus and they told people what it really was.
But, like, by that point, they'd already established... They'd planted the spore in our heads of what this thing was going to be. And they're like, oh, by the way, that didn't really work, so we've actually made this way less ambitious thing. And... like, everybody lost their mind, you know? And I enjoyed Spore for what it was. But, like, it sure as hell wasn't the game that I'd been expecting after what they said early on about it. And in this game, I would think Sean Murray was very cognizant of the Spore situation and seems to have very carefully presented this game as nothing more than what it is. And there are probably things out... You know, again, the dude who had this game beelined to the center of the universe... Finish it in about 30 hours, which is roughly what Sean Murray said it would take. If you are just, you know, heading straight to this, if you're single-mindedly go, I don't think hardly anyone's going to play it that way because there's no way I could. I know I'm going to be like, all right, my next stop should be this planet over here, but I really need to see what's on that moon. You know, like that's how I'm going to play this game. I want to see what's on stuff. I want to see if it. And look,
somebody will make it to the center in a day. Like, literally, this game
will
come
already
out.
Made it to the center.
Right, but I'm saying...
What's in the center is out there. I don't know what it is. I haven't looked.
There will be, like, 100 YouTube videos up already. So if people really want to know what's there and don't want to do it, they can just go watch the video and see what's there. And they can play it however they want to.
And everybody... I've seen people talking about what it is. I don't know what it is because I don't want to know yet. But, like, people are like, yeah, it's kind of what you think it is, but it's also surprising. But it's also cool. But it's also not really that important. But it is going to change. I'm just like, oh, stop it. You know, this game turns all of us into gibbering morons, apparently. I don't know. But what do you do? It's like, I don't know. Like, what if maybe it has more feet? I don't know. Like, I don't know what is going on with this game and how no one can really get their head around what it is. But I will say this. I think there is not going to be a game this year that causes more just straight up, flat out, knockdown, drag out, screaming matches online. As this
I think we may end up having one right here on GameFace.
As this thing's gonna cause as soon as it comes out. Like, and I'm curious how many of the people in the screaming matches are going to have actually played it. But like, I don't know. I mean, and who knows? Like, we could come back next week and I'm just be like, this game blows.
And I could be like, I think it's awesome.
The greatest thing ever.
And I don't even have a negative opinion of it at all. Like, I agree with you. Like, everything that's been shown in the game so far, everything that I saw in the videos that the guy posted is exactly what they talked about. But I can even admit a little bit myself that secretly I hoped that maybe there was a little more to it. That maybe...
I think there's a lot to this game, though. You've got the space stuff, you've got the ground
stuff. It's all discovery.
Stuff.
The game's all about discovery. And maybe I was hoping that there might be something a little bit beyond just discovering stuff. Like, there might be some kind of goal. Like, maybe there's a species of animals that is integral to the entire galaxy, and you need to make sure that no matter what, that species of animals makes it. Like, just anything like that, where you have kind of this goal, any kind of goal, other than just, like, what's at the center. It's like the question of, like...
Well, my goal is going to be like, let's find this kind of planet. Let's see what's on this planet. They're micro goals, basically.
But you don't know what they are until you find them, right?
Well, yeah, but that's where you got to go look.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, I thought I was either going to be a paleontologist or, like, some kind of space, like, astronomer person.
Right.
So for me, like, if you're either in the water or you're in space. Once you're in space, this is the space game I always wanted, where you just get to go look at strange new worlds and fly around and do whatever you want and pick up stuff. And I mean, as long as whatever you want involves picking up ore and then forging a new jetpack. I mean, I totally see when people say like, "Oh, it's kind of limited." And like, but what else do you want? I mean, I guess you could do this.
I just gave you one scenario. I could think of hundreds more.
But that's such an artificial. It's just as artificial or arbitrary as anything else in the game. It's like,
how is that artificial though? I mean,
this one species is, why don't you just make that up for yourself? Go find that species and like I used to do that in Spore. I'd pick one species and like put it on every damn planet until it like would out, and it's just like, that just sounds like a make your own fun kind of thing.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I think that if that kind of, slightly more driven content, if there's a demand for that from people once the game is out and people playing it, they could totally add that. There is some stuff like that early on in the tutorial stuff.
Yeah.
Where like, this alien wants to talk to you, whatever. Sean Murray has also said that every solar system has something you can do in it that changes that solar system forever. That will be saved server, because everything you do on the planet is saved locally. So if I dig a bunch of holes on a planet in the shape of a dick, like everyone is going to do, I can come back to that planet and that dick will still be there. But you could come back to that planet and it wouldn't be there because that's only saved locally on mine.
Oh.
However, he said that there's either every solar system or most solar systems have something you can do that will change that solar system irrevocably.
For everybody. Gotcha.
And who knows whether that's major or whether it's minor, I don't know. But and also you can dive in the water and look at stuff. Actually, here, that's a disappointment to me, is that the water stuff is all on the surface.
What do you mean?
From what I could see. That's what I saw in the thing, and also read that like the creatures all sort of congregate on the surface. There's not like deep sea life.
Oh, got it.
Like you can't
so
dive
there's like
down.
Lakes and rivers, that type of thing.
Or there are oceans, but it sounds like you can only sort of
bereft of animals.
It doesn't sound like you can dive too deep, basically.
Got it.
As we've established with Abzu, I like that stuff. So it would be cool if there was sort of like this other, because the ocean is less explored than space.
Anything, yeah.
So like if this game could also somehow include, if you found an ocean world, you could dive way down and find crazy like ocean life, like giant 200-foot long mosasaurs and stuff like just crazy scary stuff like that. That would be pretty awesome too. If your ship could that could be like an expansion or something they could do. I don't know.
So if this game is indeed no more, no less than what they've built it as, how do you think this game's going to sell, Matt?
I don't know. I don't have a guess on that one, really, because I don't know how many people know what it is, know about it at all. Like, my non-gaming, core gaming friends
it's been
don't really know what it is.
Well, yeah, non-core. People who wouldn't watch E3 would have no idea about this game.
And everybody I know.
But if you watch E3,
if you're into gaming, if you follow the gaming sites or whatever, you know what this is. But like, it takes people who aren't like that to, Call of Duty's a hit because tons of people who just see the commercials on NFL football buy it,
Yeah.
And I have not seen any TV ads for this game. I feel like this game's going to really live or die on word of mouth, at least on the PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
If it's good, I will give this as a Christmas gift just about everybody I know with a PlayStation 4. But I feel like it's really leaning on that kind of organic growth more than like a big, launch day push. I have no idea how many copies this thing's going to sell.
I think
if your average person, that's what I'm also interested in, is like your average person, your person that like isn't like me and doesn't have interest in astronomy and alien stuff and all that kind of thing. If you're not already predisposed to like this sort of exploration idea, if you're just like, oh, spaceships and shooting and weird aliens and stuff, and then you load it up and there's no story, and there's no narrative, there's no characters, which is, I think, something, games try to be movies so often that I think you're sort of conditioned to think that. If you look at the back of the box, there's absolutely nothing that indicates there is a narrative, there is a story, there is anything like that. But that doesn't mean people aren't going to expect it just based on what games are now. And so that's one of my most interesting. I don't really necessarily care what the people on NeoGAF think about it so much as like what some random dude who saw it at Best Buy and was like, oh, this looks cool, and gets it home. It's like, what the hell is it? Who's never heard of a survival game.
Right.
And never played Don't Starve, doesn't know. I'm very interested to see what that audience thinks of this game, because I feel like even if you hadn't heard of any of the hype, you could feel misled by this game just by the nature of what games generally are now.
Yeah, you're right. And I think that's a big part of what's going on right now with the backlash over people when they finally got to sort of see uncut, raw footage of it. I would say, and obviously this is just a guess, I would say best case scenario, it sells about as well as Dark Souls Bloodborne.
It's like 3-4 million in there, like if it really catches on.
Because I think, what I think is going to happen is there are going to be a lot of people like you who are going to be crazy passionate over it, but I think there are certain...
this thing better be fun to play. Like really, the controls better feel good. That's all I can say.
I don't think you need to worry about that. But I think there are going to be certain people that you're never going to convince that they're going to enjoy playing the game. There's just certain things about it that no matter what, some people are not going to be able to get over it and enjoy the game. And so...
I think online conversations about this game are going to be really annoying.
Yeah.
Like, I know that I'm...
Well, I think it could be awesome, too, because people are discovering things that other people aren't.
Well, that's the thing, is like I think you're going to need like a thread for people who are actually playing the game to discuss the game, and a thread for people to concern troll about how it's not what anybody thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
I think those need to be two separate conversations at some point. Because like people who are just like, I found this planet and there's this creature and this thing and I named it this, and then like you can't have that conversation alongside like, this game blows. Like this is the total. This is not what everybody lied to us about what there's going to be. Right. Except the developers didn't lie, but we lied to ourselves. But that's just as good, right? You know. And like a lot of the people that like have that opinion about that game already don't seem, I've never seen a game where like in any thread I've seen about it anywhere online or on any Twitter conversation, anything, there's always someone that comes in and is just like, well, this game looks terrible and I'm not going to buy it. It's like, thanks for the
vote of confidence.
Thanks for coming by. Yeah. It's like you don't see that. So you'll see people come in for like something like Call of Duty or whatever. It was like I don't see why people still like this game. This was terrible. And I played this game and this was terrible.
It never keeps me from enjoying the games that they're talking about.
But I just think it's interesting that there's so many people so very, very worried that like this game is going to screw people over and they don't know what they're getting. You're all going to be really disappointed in this game. And I'm just like, just let me worry about that.
It's Schadenfreude. They want to see people in pain.
People don't want to see someone enjoy something they don't enjoy.
No, you're absolutely right. It's really weird that humans are that way, but a lot of them are. So,
and yes, Sterling Life Co. is also. You need a third thread for screenshots of dick drawings on planets. I want to see somebody draw a dick so big you can see it from space.
Yeah,
is that possible? Because if that's possible, game of the year.
Oh, that'll be done within.
That'll be done in an hour. It's probably already done.
Probably.
Someone's waiting. Someone's waiting for 9 p.m. Monday night to be like, and there we go.
No, the
first dick.
People who have the leaked copies have already done it. That was like their first project, I'm sure. So
now remember, these planets are planet size, so like you're literally digging a dick. You'd have to dig a dick the size
of a state
of a continent.
Yeah,
something. Yeah, really, you'd have to have something in the realm.
You can see the Grand Canyon.
A Colorado-sized dick, let's say.
And you can see the Great Wall of China from space. So.
You cannot. You cannot see.
I thought you could.
No, that was a myth. You can.
I
see
know
the
Grand Canyon. You can.
And
that is pretty big.
It is big. That is very big. So I'm going to see a Grand Canyon-sized dick.
Yeah.
The opposite of the Grand Canyon, if you think about it.
Yeah, it is. Well, no, it could just be. The Grand
Canyon is an opening, wwhereas we're trying to portray
something that may protrude.
In fact, if you could draw it right next to the Grand Canyon, on that whatever the equivalent would be on the Grand Canyon on that planet, I think you'd have bonus points.
Right. For that. So I'm guessing we're going to talk about this game again next week.
We're going to talk about dicks, that's for sure. I'll bring in a series of screenshots.
Yeah, I mean, it comes out
I find that, I have never drawn, like, a dick in a game like
I've never either.
It doesn't occur to me.
I've drawn boobs.
I've never done that. I just don't, I don't do the scatological graffiti thing.
I was young, immature.
Yeah, also, you're from Philly. That's what they do.
We draw boobs.
We draw boobs on things. That's how the cheesesteak started.
Yeah. No, drawing dicks would make the cheesesteak, I believe. I think you got your wires crossed there.
No, that's what the mushrooms were.
Yeah. So the game comes out Tuesday, I believe.
Yeah.
Nobody has the game yet. No journalists have the game. There's a group on Facebook where all the journalists get together to discuss code when it's coming in. If people are looking for code, other people will help them figure out where to go to get it. Nobody has the game. Still.
Well, except that one dude.
Right.
And like there's like 3 people streaming it on Twitch. One of whom claims they just bought it from Walmart.
Yeah, I don't know if I believe that.
Well, maybe he got it from some, Walmart has a thing.
He could just be trying to throw people off the trail.
Somewhat, but also Walmart is supposed to have a thing where they can't sell stuff early. Even I mean, there have been pictures of it on the shelves at Walmart.
Oh, really?
But the system will literally not let you buy it until it comes out, so it just sits there and taunts you.
Gotcha.
Now, if you know someone, I assume if you know someone in some podunk wherever you are, like maybe if you know the manager, they can just sort of like, yeah, sure, there you go, and maybe that's how they did it. But all I'm saying is, the guy who paid $1,200 and or $2,000 for that must really be pissed that the guy got it from Walmart.
Yeah, for $60.
Yeah.
So don't expect reviews, like, probably not even on launch day. I would be really shocked if that happens.
Well, it goes live 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern here for the PlayStation. Anyway, who knows when Steam's gonna? Steam is a wilder beast. So I would guess that some of the major sites will probably just have somebody play it overnight and at least do impressions.
Yeah, there'll be like review in progress stuff, I'm guessing. But
I mean, you'll be able to get some kind of information about it by the morning of day one, I think. But full reviews, that'll probably be the end of the week. You
may have to buy this one blind if you're really. I saw somebody in our chat a minute ago saying that they already jumped in and just went for it.
I'm in. I got my digital pre-order. I got my Steelbook pre-order. I got my super duper comes with the metal ship thing from I Am 8-Bit pre-order. This thing, if I don't like this game, I have wasted a lot of money on a stupid thing.
Yeah. Will you admit that you don't like it after going so far in? You don't like it, yeah.
Oh yeah. See, that's like the other thing is like people are always like, oh well, if you go to all these events and these trips and stuff, and then like you play the game, there's no way you're not going to like the game because like you've been able to do all these cool things. I'm like, look, if I spend that much,
what does that have to do with anything?
Well, I spent that much time on something that long, and then like I still have to suffer through it. It's not going to make it any better for me. So no matter how much money I've invested in this thing and how excited I am for what this game could be to me, if it's not what I wanted, if it's not that thing to me, like I'm going to tell you.
Yeah. So I would say, those of you who are watching the stream and aren't subscribers to Sifted, totally fine. Totally cool with you just watching it on Twitch. I would say do not miss next week's episode. Because I think Matt and I are going to have a spirited discussion about No Man's Sky. Like, regardless. I mean, it's just one of those games that some people are going to take it one way and other people are going to take it the other way. And those of you who subscribe to Sifted, you're golden. So we'll definitely be talking about it next week. We may be coming in a little bleary-eyed trying to get through the game in time to discuss it. Yeah. We'll have 2 days basically to play it before we talk about it. So we'll do our best to get through as much as we can before we discuss it. But we'll see.
Pretty much all I intend to do for those 2 days.
I kind of guess that. Yep. So.
And if it's not, something's gone wrong.
Yeah.
If you log on to PlayStation 4, log on to PSN Wednesday morning, and if I'm not there,
there's a problem.
It's all gone wrong.
All right, let's move on to the next topic.
If next week's show starts with just a smashed model of the No Man's Sky ship, like right there, and I'm just staring at you, buckle up.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. It'll be a good show anyway. Just finally us getting to talk about the final version of this game after us playing. I mean, we've talked about it on the show how many times, so I'm really excited for next week's episode. You guys should be too. So let's move on. So Matt, you may have heard there was this console launch this week.
I think I heard about that recently.
Yes, I think you may have. Maybe about 15 minutes ago, but you're going to hear about it again.
We talked about that for longer than 15 minutes.
Yeah, I think we did. I think you're right.
We don't talk about anything for only 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's just not the way we roll on GameFace. So, Xbox One S, out in the wild. This isn't the first time Microsoft, or any other platform holder for that matter, has released a slimmer, less power consumptive iteration of a console. For whatever reason, reports coming out today, the thing is sold out everywhere.
Really?
Yes. It is selling like freaking hotcakes.
Would not have predicted that.
I would not have either. To me, the Xbox One was dead in the water. I think to a lot of people, Xbox One was dead in the water. Nope. It is selling out pretty much everywhere. It's hard to find stock of it.
Wow.
Yeah, I am completely shocked by this. I mean, were that many people really holding out to buy an Xbox One, knowing this model was coming? Apparently,
I guess. I figured if you didn't have an Xbox One by now, you just weren't interested.
Right, but no, like it's sold out, impossible to find. This guy on YouTube took it apart as soon as he got it and found a really cool like Master Chief Easter egg inside it. Like one of the panels inside is stamped with a little chibi-looking Master Chief, which is really cool. I mean, it shows that Microsoft still has an acute attention to detail. You can see when he tears this thing apart, it's very elegant. It looks like very well-designed hardware. I don't know if any of you guys have ever looked inside the launch Xbox One, but literally, there's the Master Chief stamp. Literally, inside the launch Xbox One is just a bunch of empty space. Like, it is literally just a shell with, like, nothing in it.
They were not having that red ring
no,
of death thing happen
really,
again.
I believe they call it overcompensation.
Yeah.
This one, nice, tight kit piece of hardware. I love the look of the console. Looking inside it, it looks like it's very well engineered. Mm-hmm. But I am completely shocked that it's selling as well as it is.
Yeah, I would not have guessed that.
Now, Digital Foundry's done some testing on it. It actually does improve frame rates on pretty much every game, even though Microsoft is still saying it will not go on record saying that it plays anything better.
How much is it improving?
Like 10%.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's not completely pointless. I mean, it actually is showing a noticeable improvement with games. Just getting rid of that damn power brick.
Yeah, that's nice.
Hallelujah. I wish I could buy another one of those so I wouldn't have to haul that thing back and forth when I come to the office. But it's shocking to me, Matt, that this thing has done the kind of business that it has. I mean, it hasn't done the kind of business where Sony's all of a sudden wondering if it's going to win MPD next month. I mean,
although it might. It
actually might win the first month since October of last year.
Wow. Although it might make Sony a little more optimistic about Neo.
I think Sony's plenty optimistic about Neo. Sony put out its...
Yeah, but now there's just no doubt if this is going to work.
Yeah, I mean, Sony put out its financials today, and the PlayStation 4 is completely carrying that entire company right now. Every other division of its business is in the tank right now.
I mean, that's not the first time that's been true. I mean, that was true in the PS1 era a couple times, PlayStation 2 era. It was the sole... I mean, that's why Kutaragi had a lot of clout at the time, was because he was the savior of Sony. Like, I mean, their TV division has been losing money since they founded it. I mean, it's just, and I think like the Vio stuff turned it around a little bit, but like for the computing division, but
their
like,
TVs are doing terrible.
TVs doing terrible. They're still searching for their tentpole film franchise. Like,
I did see in chat that somebody said that Sony Ericsson does not make phones anymore.
No.
Sony does not make phones. So yeah, that's a
probably wise.
Well. Yeah, I don't. It's diversifying your business, and then they're spreading yourself too thin, and I feel like maybe that's what Sony's done a little bit in the past. So,
have they said how many units of this Xbox S shipped?
No, they didn't say. But they're pretty much sold out everywhere, including in Europe, which is Sony land, so it's getting a little bump there as well. Do you see yourself buying one of these?
No.
Me either.
If I buy another Xbox, it'll be the Scorpio.
Because mine breaks?
No, it'll be the Scorpio, and...
Is that even an Xbox One, though? I really don't feel like it is. I feel like that's another platform. I mean,
yeah. I mean, we'll see what they name it in the final.
I mean, to me, the name is it's irrelevant. It doesn't matter what they name it. When you change the hardware that drastically, it's impossible for me to still call that like Xbox One. Even if they name it Xbox One 2 or whatever the hell they call it. I have no idea.
Dos.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to call it. Same deal with PlayStation 4 Neo. Like, I have a feeling they're going to call it something different. I don't think that they're going to stick to that nomenclature. So.
I don't think they're going to call it PlayStation 5, though.
No, I don't either. I mean, they'll probably just call it PlayStation Neo.
I don't know. I mean, Morpheus was the code name for VR,
right,
and they changed that.
And they changed that.
Although, to be fair, Morpheus doesn't say what the thing is as well as VR. I mean, it's very straightforward. Whereas, you can kind of name a console something cool.
Yeah, you're totally right.
So Neo isn't a bad... Neo also gets across what it is. It's new.
Yeah. It's very rare, if ever, my memory serves, that the code name for a console ended up being the final name of the console.
I don't think
Has that ever happened?
No, old Dolphin became GameCube.
Dural became Xbox 360, right?
No, that was Sega.
Dural was
Dural was
Dreamcast.
Dreamcast.
Yeah.
I guess Saturn.
Was that its code
I
name?
thought that was, or was that Uranus?
Chat, help us out.
Everything was planets.
Chat
with
can
them for a
Google
while.
stuff. We can't.
I always thought Sega should have called the successor to the Genesis the Exodus. a departure from normal video game systems.
Or a departure of all their customers away from their
Yeah,
platform.
that's what it turned out to be. But
I love the name Dreamcast. I know a lot of people have made fun of Dreamcast. I actually think that's a great name for a console.
I think it's silly, but at least
Really?
it's memorable.
I think it's great. I love it. I don't know if the swirl made a whole lot of sense, but
Yeah, I don't know.
It's
I like the launch era commercials they did. It's
Yeah.
thinking.
It's
and all that
thinking,
stuff.
that's right, yeah.
Man, Sega gave it their best shot. They really did. But
gave it all they had.
you couldn't win anything back then, and probably not even today without EA.
No, you're right.
So
Yeah, that's a lesson that Nintendo's learning right now.
Revolution became the Wii. Who knows what the NX will be?
That might be the first.
I think the DS. The DS is because the DS was the code name stood for Developer System.
Oh, you're right.
And then they changed
it stood
to
for
dual
something
screen.
else. Yeah, but it
and then they
ended up being
decided
the
to
same.
stick with
You're
it.
right.
That's the only
Good call,
example of that I can think of.
Good call. You even beat the people in chat who have Google at their disposal. Good, excellent work there. So, do you think this changes anything? Does this change anything with third-party publishers seeing this little bump in hardware sales? For I mean, it's not like they've been bailing on Xbox
Not yet.
One.
I mean, it's good news for Microsoft, but I think they're so far behind that like it's really just sort of like maybe parity is in sight one day at this point. I don't know. I don't know
think
what the
Microsoft
significance would be.
Is really lucky that
At least the interest is still there.
Yeah. I think Microsoft is really lucky that Xbox One is in this era and not another era. Because the way consoles are built now, everything's a PC. It's very easy to port a game from one to the other. You may have to pull back a little bit on something to get the frame rate where you want it. But the architecture is all the same. Once they build something for PlayStation 4, getting that game ready for Xbox One doesn't cost a ton of money. Hardly any money at all, in fact. If it were last generation and PlayStation was dominating the way it is, and everyone was building games for the cell processor first, Microsoft would be in deep crap, and it would have started losing third-party games already.
Well, that was Sony's plan.
Right.
Just
didn't work
out so well.
Because developers couldn't get their head around the
Right.
cell. So,
Well, originally they didn't even have like a GPU and stuff in that thing. You were supposed to like, oh, you can just make the cell be the GPU, and
Right.
the developers were like, we're not writing a graphics engine for the cell
For the cell
processor
processor,
every
yeah.
time we want to make a damn game. Like
Yeah.
it was Sony was really trading on the idea that the PlayStation 2 was the only game in town, and the PlayStation 3 would continue that trend, and that didn't work out so well for them when they started asking developers to bend over backwards to make stuff for them.
Right.
Which is a lesson that you could have learned early, Nintendo,
yeah.
but didn't.
But if this were another generation, I feel like we'd already start seeing, and there is actually a little bit of it already. Like most of the Japanese publishers have already kind of started pulling back a little bit on Xbox One. In fact, most Japanese developers don't even make games for Xbox One at all.
Well, there's just no market over there for
Yeah.
it, so why bother?
There's not much of a market for it here right now.
In comparison to Japan, there is. I mean,
Yeah.
It's literally a non-entity over there.
But, in another era, I think we would have already started seeing some of these third parties pulling back a little bit. And you still get, like, the Battlefields and the Titanfalls, but some of maybe the sports games might start peeling off a little bit and may not be released for it. So Microsoft is in a fortunate position, at the very least, that, despite...
That everybody sort of agreed on an architecture.
I mean, despite getting more than doubled up at this point, I mean... What did they just announce? I think PlayStation 4 is at like 46 million or something like that.
Right. 45, 46.
It is slowing down, though, and I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, you're going to hit saturation.
Every
at some
time
point.
somebody buys one, they don't need to buy it, so it makes sense that it's slowing
One
down.
for each room, go!
Yeah.
Eventually people did do that with PlayStation 2s.
Yeah, you're right, they did. Well, they got cheap.
They got real cheap.
Yeah, I mean, they got to where they're like
the Slims
$99
were just like,
or
yeah,
whatever.
sure, a DVD player for every room.
Pretty much, yeah. And so... I feel like they are in a very enviable or a lucky position in that their console, I mean, they're more than doubled up at this point. And
if they were going to stumble, this was the time to do it.
Yeah, and PlayStation 4 actually last quarter only sold 3.5 million consoles, which, look, Nintendo would kill for that, and so would Microsoft. But compared to what it was doing before, that's a pretty drastic drop-off for PlayStation 4. So it looks like they're going to settle in somewhere around 2.5 times PlayStation 4 over Xbox One.
Well, we'll see what... I think the PlayStation 4 is going to be a monster this holiday season.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you this. I've already got some of my non-gaming news-following friends asking me about the PlayStation VR.
Yeah.
which like I don't even know how they
how do they know?
Just some reporting or something's finally happening.
Because those aren't out in Best Buys yet.
No, there's nothing like that. There's no commercials. There's no, but like people are already like, oh, what's that PlayStation virtual reality thing going to be like? Are you getting that? Are you going to do that? I'm just like, yeah, I'll bring it up for Christmas and you can try it. And like everybody's, I got people coming over to try the Vive next week too. I mean, everybody wants to try it. Everybody's interested. The interest is super at this like fever pitch, and it's just a matter of whether people will be willing to spend the money on, if they don't have a PlayStation 4, that's a big purchase. And if Sony can make enough headsets to satisfy demand, because the initial shipment's already sold out, so can they get another wave out or 2 more waves out before Christmas in time for Black Friday and all that? That's going to be part of it too. But I think that is going to be, PlayStation VR is going to be, in terms of mainstream media coverage, like the story.
Oh, for sure. I mean, this will be the first Q4.
Especially because it looks so cool. Like,
Q4
you got about the glowing yellow, blue lights and everything. Like, you look like a Tron character, and it makes a good visual. Yeah,
and I think Sony actually has games for the base PlayStation 4 this holiday season for once. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's actually going to have a decent holiday lineup to further convince people to get the PlayStation 4. The messaging with the Neo still, to me, is a little funky.
Yeah, the fact that we haven't seen anything about that, you think that's still this year? I'm starting to doubt.
I highly doubt it.
Yeah.
I think the chances of that coming out this year now are probably 25% max. But you never know.
Where are they going to put that?
I mean, look, they announced...
Are they going to put that right up against the NX?
Probably. Yeah.
That's mean.
I mean, look, they announced the S... the Xbox One S at E3, and here we are 2 months later, less than 2 months later, and it's in stores and sold out. So there's still the chance.
Yeah.
That's why I put it at 25%. But and they have acknowledged it's out. It's real. So
yeah, I mean, you definitely don't have to do as much legwork as Nintendo does, introducing a whole new system with a whole new concept.
Yeah.
Whereas it's this is the PlayStation 4, but it's more powerful. Go.
Yeah.
I guess it's an easier concept. So maybe they show it at Gamescom or TGS, and
they're not showing shit at Gamescom. No one is. Microsoft isn't showing anything. Bill Spencer isn't even going to Gamescom.
So I guess we're just hoping for a big September then.
Yeah. Well, September obviously we have hopefully the unveiling of the NX, which segues nicely into our next topic. So apparently, every story is broken in Europe now, Matt. I don't know if European developers are just we don't give a toss, and we're just going to talk to whoever we want about stuff. I don't know why.
They drink a lot more over there, I hear.
Yeah, maybe. But so this morning, last night, depending on how you look at it.
It's a land of Cold War espionage. They know how to do it.
MCV, a European publication, came out and said that it has good sources who say that the NX will have a launch window that includes Zelda, which we already know about, obviously. Right. But the big news was Mario and Pokemon as well will be coming in the launch window. And then later I saw clarification of it. They said before September of next year. So allegedly it's coming out in March. According to a Nintendo anyway, it's coming out in March. So within the first 5 or 6 months of that console being on the market, we're going to get those 3 big hitters for it. So let's start by answering the question of, do you think that's possible, and do you think that that's true? They're also saying their sources corroborated everything else that Eurogamer reported about the system being a portable that docks and connects to your TV.
I think it's possible, and I think it's necessary.
Yeah.
I think I hope it's true, because that's what they need to do.
Yeah.
You need to get those 3 pillars are, those are the heaviest of hitters, the hottest of fire.
They are.
For Nintendo's exclusive IP. We've got a Zelda. If you can deliver me a Mario game and a Pokemon game that live up to kind of the modern... we've actually finally made a modern version of this game the way Zelda's doing it. I'll buy your system, no question. I mean, I was going to probably anyway, but and look, you have got to strike the Pokemon iron while it's hot here with the already Niantic's starting to ruin it, but Pokemon Go is still on fire to some degree, and you have to, 3DSs are gone. like for the
They
most
are
part.
pretty
Like
much sold out,
finding a 3DS right now is very hard.
I tracked one down for you, though. I found one.
Finding Pokemon X, Y, and Alpha Sapphire and Omega Ruby, or I said those are backwards. It's Alpha Ruby, Omega. I don't even care anymore. Finding the 3DS Pokemon is pretty tough. Like, people have gone back to play the actual Pokemon games again, and if you can get them something that really delivers the Pokemon experience on the NX as a follow-up to Sun Moon.
I love Rowlet, by the way.
Rowlet's great.
He's an awesome Pokemon. I love him.
I was going to go with Litten, but if those leaked third evolutions are true, I don't need another.
I just love the way Owlet's eyes blink. And plus, I'm a Temple Owl, so I've got to go with the Owl.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Don't you just think that the Pokemon game's going to be Sun and Moon, though? I mean,
that would be dumb.
It's going to be, though. Don't you
think?
Well,
you know what I think it would be? I think it'll be like Pokemon Platinum.
Yeah.
It'll be Sun and Moon, but it'll be different
in one game.
Sort of a semi-sequel kind of thing, like Platinum and Emerald, and they've done that before, where they release the two new ones for the generation, and then they do sort of a third that's sort of incorporates elements of both.
Yeah.
I think that's what it'll be. It'll be
Sun. Look, here's the thing: Nintendo has known what it's doing all this time, right? And we didn't know. Right. We didn't know what Nintendo was doing. Nintendo knew what it was doing all this time.
Right.
So conceivably, while it was building Sun and Moon, it could have been making this other, maybe higher resolution version for NX all the while.
Or they could be doing a Sun Moon, the way they did with Sapphire and Ruby. It could be Platinum,
right,
or Diamond and Pearl, like redone like that.
Yeah.
Trade on the nostalgia, which I don't think would be as exciting or as invigorating as like a new one as part of the Sun Moon situation, but whatever. Look, get a mainline Pokemon game on that damn thing. Like,
what do you think the chances are of it being like a brand new Pokemon game?
Low, but not impossible.
Yeah, I'd give it about a 5% chance.
Yeah, but they have been doing the thing in the last couple generations where they released two. The last few generations, they've had. There was Heart Gold and Soul Sapphire were remakes alongside. Whatever the hell was before that. And then, you had the Black and White, and then Black 2 and White 2, and then now you had the 4. It's been 4 per generation, and, and so I don't know. Like, they might have planned this all the way out in advance, and if it's there, it's there. But I'm still guessing.
Nintendo does have a lot of teams that have been sitting around doing nothing for 2 years.
If I had to bet money, I would say it's like a Pokemon Platinum thing.
Yeah,
it's a expansion.
That's my guess too.
Expansion / continuation of Sun and Moon. I have no idea what you'd call that. Pokemon Galaxy?
Yeah, well, that segues nicely into Mario. Which I did not realize until this news broke. I went back and looked. I totally had forgotten that Super Mario 3D World came out 3 years ago, Matt. It's 3 years old. Mm-hmm. We've been waiting for a new 3D Mario game already for 3 years. I think that's a done deal.
Yeah.
Done deal. Super Mario Galaxy 3, woohoo! Sign me up, dude. I would freak out if there was a new Mario Galaxy available
I don't think it's gonna be Mario
at or
Galaxy.
around launch. Really?
I think it's going to be a new thing.
I don't want a new thing.
Neither do I. I would rather have Galaxy 3, but I think that is way too optimistic.
I like Super Mario 3D World, but I didn't like it anywhere near as much
I don't think they're going to
games.
call anything in the launch window of this with a number. With the possible exception of Pikmin 4.
Or just call it Mario NX or whatever.
Yeah, I would hope it would incorporate some stuff from Galaxy, or more Galaxy than Sunshine.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I would like it to be Galaxy 3. I think it'll be something different. I just hope
It's what the fans are asking for.
I just hope they get away from kind of the new Super Mario Brothers aesthetic.
Dude, that would be. Oh, I can't even believe you brought that up, Matt. Don't even put it out there that it could be a 2D side-scrolling Mario game.
It's probably Mario Maker NX.
No!
Don't
even say that.
You know that's what
you're raining all over. You're pouring buckets of water on my parade. Oh, I don't even want to think. I hadn't even thought about that, because as soon as I saw how long it had been since the last 3D Mario, I was like, oh, it's done. It's set in stone. That's got to be what it is. It makes too much sense.
I hope so, but
they just put out Mario Maker.
I think
I think they will put out Mario Maker for NX.
Nintendo loves their technicalities, and a Mario Maker NX version.
I know.
And a Sun Moon expansion or port technically means there's an NX Mario
I
and
can
Pokemon
hear Reggie
game.
explaining it away already, because that's what he does.
How can you be disappointed?
We have a Mario
You
game.
got Animal
Whoa.
Crossing. You remember that with Keeley that one year?
yeah,
And Keely's
yeah.
like, where are the games? And he's like, we got Animal Crossing. And Keely's like, Reggie, come on. Oh, man.
Yeah, good old Reggie. I see people saying, hey, Mario Maker's great. It is. I just played
is.
it, though. Do you really?
Yeah, but it was on the Wii U. Not a lot of people played
would
that.
you
It's new to you.
would you prefer playing Mario Maker over a 3D Mario game?
Oh, no. I'd take a 3D Mario game any day. over
Anybody
that.
in the chat? No.
But I'm
way.
just saying it makes a lot more sense to load that launch window with something that's already basically made.
We also have Pikmin 4, which Miyamoto's already said is pretty much done.
I think that'll be in there, too.
So imagine if you get all 4 of those games in the first 5 or 6 months. Is that still enough, Matt, to make it a success?
I don't know what else you need to do.
Because Nintendo, wasn't it the GameCube where they had pretty much all their first-party games out in the first, year and a half?
Not Zelda, but they had everything else for the most. Well, wait, what was it? When was Mario Sunshine? That was 2002. Yeah,
yeah.
June 2002. Yeah, they got it. They got all the big, and then Wind Waker was 03.
Yep.
And that was also early summer.
Was it 03? Wind
I
Waker?
thought it was.
I saw it first in 2001. In Space
I thought
World.
that was early, Marchish 2003, wasn't that?
Yeah, I think you're right. Early 2003.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they got the heavy hitters for the GameCube out
Early.
pretty fast, a
And
couple
we
of years.
see how that ended up.
Yeah.
20 million console sales.
Well, maybe if
which
this-
they kill for right now with
Maybe
the
if
Wii U.
maybe if this thing doesn't look like a lunchbox,
I still don't know if that's enough.
maybe not. They need third parties.
They really do. They really do. It was so funny, too, because, all this news broke about the NX. And, obviously we asked for questions for Pactor Factor. And everyone's excited to get his take on the NX. And basically he just said the same thing. And, one thing that he said, I edited it out because, the second question, it was a different question about NX. But he basically, when he read the question, was like, I just answered this. And I'm thinking, no, you didn't.
Yeah.
But then I realized why he said that, because his same answer to everything about the NX is, if there's no third-party support, nothing else matters.
Yeah.
And he's absolutely right. He is absolutely right. If there's no third-party support for the NX, everything else doesn't matter, other than how happy people will be for the first year they own the platform.
Right.
Everything else is pretty much irrelevant.
And you've got another
To a success.
Nintendo-only platform.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't think it's enough. I mean, I think those games will
It would be a nice gesture.
Yeah, and I think it will get the same 13 million people who bought the Wii U so far to probably buy the NX.
To get the fans, it would keep the fans happy for sure.
But beyond that, I don't know.
I mean, it also kind of depends. Has Pokemon Go grown the Pokemon potential audience to the point that they would purchase a console for it?
I don't know. I mean,
we'll find out.
No matter what, NX is going to have more software for it, first party wise, than any Nintendo platform in the last maybe forever. Because when was the last time Nintendo only had to concentrate on one platform? The NES? No. Never.
The Game Boy came out before the end of the NES.
Yeah. So never. It has never been in a place where all its development resources could go to one platform. So we do know that the NX is going to have way more software than probably any system since probably the Super Nintendo. Although their first-party outputs actually remain pretty steady throughout the generations.
Yeah, they seem to put out about 50 games per
50
system.
to 80, somewhere around there, by the time it's done and sent out to pasture. So we know it's going to have solid first-party support, which is great, but we know where that gets Nintendo at this point.
Right.
We know what its core audience is. There may
It's like Pactor said.
There may be a couple million people who have lapsed from Nintendo that might come back, but
it's like Pactor said. If you can play FIFA or whatever, if it's simple, a matter of $1 million or a couple $1 million to get a port onto their architecture and release it that way, it'll be big.
Yeah.
And if it's not, then it won't.
The other angle you got to wonder about too.
It won't bomb, but it'll just be another Wii U, maybe a little better.
Yeah, and the other angle too is mobile. It's probably going to be a port dump for mobile gaming, you'd think, right?
Maybe.
I wouldn't be shocked if you see stuff like Fallout, like the Elder Scrolls card battle game, like.
Well, like it's the other thing about it is it might be if they do it like that, it becomes kind of a mobile option. I know a lot of parents of younger kids who are starting to age into that bracket where they want to play these more online-enabled games, but the parents aren't comfortable letting them run wild online yet.
Right.
If Nintendo can create sort of an environment where those games can be played in an environment that the parents feel safe with, like how they've been super, basically regressive about how you could deal with the online situation, with the friend codes and all that stuff, the stuff that has annoyed us for years and years. If they can find a way to turn that into a way to play stuff like, whatever, Clash of Clans or whatever, the big name mobile stuff in a place that parents feel comfortable letting their kids online with, that could be a big deal.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're that forward thinking in that regard, or if they would even be interested in having those games on their platform. But that would be a direction I would think they could take it, depending on how the NX works.
Yeah. But, I mean, getting back to sort of the topic at hand, I mean, I'll be excited as all get out if I get all those games in the first few months. I mean, let's be honest, Zelda's probably going to take us... I mean, I'll have to probably rush through it for review, but for most people, Zelda's probably going to take them at least a couple weeks to play, even if they're playing it hardcore.
Yeah. I mean, that's going to take a solid month of a normal person's time,
probably,
I think.
Yeah, you're right, yeah. At least, yeah. I don't know any of those people, so I really wouldn't know. They're like aliens to me. But, yeah, so people are going to get a lot of mileage out of Zelda. Imagine if, a month after Zelda, after launch, the new Mario comes out. And the new Mario will take the average person another month. And then you roll out whatever the Pokemon game is. And then a month after that, you roll out the new Pikmin. I mean, that's a pretty good launch window. And hopefully somewhere in there...
That's a pretty big drop-off on the fourth release there.
It is. It's Pikmin.
It's Pikmin.
It sells around 1 million copies every release. It's something.
It's something to do.
I mean, we got to think about it. Like most Nintendo consoles, after the first month after launch, you're like, now what?
Like, well?
Yeah, I mean, that's usually how it works. So already... it's shaping up to be much better than, certainly, the Wii U's launch, without a doubt. I mean, what was the big launch game for the Wii U? Exactly. Nintendo Land.
Oh, right.
I mean, what a joke that was. So, I think it's all good news what we're hearing about Nintendo. I think the unifying to one platform is the best thing it could have done. We talked about that, I think it was last week a little bit. To have these big properties coming out right out of the gate, especially as we mentioned earlier, it could be going head-to-head against the Neo, which would be really, really tough position to be in. But it sounds like Nintendo's cards are lining up pretty good here.
They should be, since that's what they started with.
And since they haven't really done squat with the Wii U for the last year and a half or 2 years. So it sounds like all their plans, they realized the Wii U was dying probably far before anybody else did, and started shifting resources in the right direction, and it looks like it could pay off at least for Nintendo fans who got burned by the Wii U. Looks like they're guaranteed to have at least a good launch window with the NX, but we'll see.
So if they got something after that.
Yeah, that's the problem. I mean, what does come after that? Metroid?
Christmas.
Smash Brothers and Mario Kart.
Yep.
And after they're done with those...
how about another Zelda?
Yeah, or how about some new IP from Nintendo? Wouldn't that be nice?
I'd rather have another Zelda and not have to wait till the next system again.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
How about another Majora's Mask equivalent sort of thing?
Yeah, a little
just take what you've made
type
and build out something different from it. Like what happened to that?
Well, now they could actually make the promises of the 64 DD come to fruition.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Maybe, and if it is the Super Mario Maker NX port in there, I would guess that an actual 3D one, like you said, it's been 3 years.
Yeah.
I'm sure that one's not too far down the road.
Yeah.
After that,
it better not be Mario Maker. I'll be so pissed.
I'm pretty sure it's Mario.
Better not be. All right, so it's time to move on to our trailer of the week. Lots of good trailers this week, Matt. Actually, I had another one picked. So there was this game that one guy made that was absolutely mind-boggling. Did you see that?
What?
I can't remember the name of it. It was it literally looked like Final
Good
Fantasy.
Good work, trailer.
Yeah. It's a really weird name. It sounds like a Japanese game, actually. But it was one guy in China made this game. It literally, I'm not even exaggerating, looks as good or better than Final Fantasy 15. He said when he saw Final Fantasy 15, it inspired him to start making a game. He made it all himself in Unreal, using mostly assets that were already in there, but still, it looks amazing. So that was, up until today, was going to be the trailer of the week. But then QuakeCon happened today, and that was all thrown out the window. The other problem, too, is the other trailer was like 5 minutes long. So today, we got the first ever look at gameplay for the new rework of Prey 2. They're calling it Prey 2017 right now. They don't have the final name of it. Just yesterday, Bethesda had put out a video where the developers went and basically dug into the trailer they showed at E3 and started talking about all these elements. It's like a Metroidvania game. That's what the new Prey game is. So, we finally get a look at the first gameplay for Prey. I think they're calling it debut gameplay trailer. Real creative there, Bethesda. But here it is. Let's have a look and get those questions in.
This is Morgan. The year is 2034. I keep having this dream. I'm just staring into the black between the stars. There's something there. I know there is. I can't see it, but it sees me. It sees everything. You know what I'm talking about. Or you will soon. This is Morgan. The year is 2035. Please listen. This isn't a dream. It's a nightmare. There's no room for uncertainty. There's no room for doubt. And know this, there's more at stake than just Talos 1. If what happened here, if even one breaks containment, we're all lost. To make this right, someone has to die.
So, Matt, I'm starting to think that the new Prey might actually end up being significantly better than the Prey 2 that I saw.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, the Prey 2 that I saw was a little schlocky, I guess is a good way to put it. Like, a little tongue-in-cheek. Like, this looks deathly serious. And I like the idea that it's designed like a Metroid game. It's not like Nintendo's going to give us a 3D Metroid game.
No.
So, I'll take what I can get at this point. Let's see. Do we have any questions? Let's see. Also, the game, I saw somebody mention the name of the game, but they're also saying it was just a part of the guy's portfolio, and it's not actually...
Lost Soul Aside?
That's it. Lost Soul Aside. Yeah. You see now why I couldn't remember what the name of it was?
Well, yeah, because it doesn't mean anything.
Exactly. Let's see. Do we have any questions? Did anyone ask a question?
A few. Unfashionable asks, what franchise would you like Telltale to cover in a new game series?
That's a good question. I think I know what you're going to pick.
What?
Star Wars.
No. I was going to say, and I know they would probably never do this, but I would like to see Telltale tackle an X-Men game.
That'd be great. That'd be good.
As long as we're doing comic books with Telltale, I would like to see them do X-Men. But that would not happen, A, because I don't think Marvel licenses stuff out that way right now, and B, we're not allowed to talk about the X-Men because they're not, the movie license, it belongs to Fox.
Yeah.
But I have wanted a really good X-Men game forever, and I think Telltale would maybe do something cool with it.
Well, I picked Star Wars. I can't believe you didn't pick it. I think Star Wars would be freaking amazing. I think it would also sell like crazy.
True.
I mean, that one's just sitting there. I don't know if you guys have watched the series on Netflix, Stranger Things. Have you watched that?
About half of it. Yeah.
Love it. Love it. I watched the whole thing in like one day.
Do you know they pitched that to 15 or 20 different networks and they all turned it down?
I'm sure. Yep.
I like watching it and thinking about like who would have played the roles in the original if it was actually made in the 80s.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's Corey Feldman. Yeah. That's River Phoenix. Yeah.
I love that. I love everything about it. They're saying they're doing another season of it. Mm-hmm. I don't know how you do that, but with the same characters and everything. But
yeah, we'll see.
I'll
It's
try to
more
figure
about the
something out.
setting than the character. I wouldn't mind if they branched out a little more.
Yeah.
And they are very influenced by Stephen King, and Stephen King is
yeah.
not afraid to have the same
Or Spielberg.
vague location. And I mean, the Stranger Things title is literally the font Stephen King's name used to be written in
Yeah.
the old paperbacks.
Uh-huh.
And,
There are nods all
oh, yeah.
over that show back to 80s.
Well, and then
stuff.
like my girlfriend was like, showed me a picture of like the chapter headings from it, and they're like, she's like, what is this text? Like, why do I know this text? And finally, we figured it out because it's the font that they use for the titles of the old Choose Your Own Adventure books.
Wow.
That's what was familiar about it.
Yeah, there's lots of meta in that show. I loved it. I thought it was amazing. I literally binge watched the whole thing in like one day.
Also, if you haven't ever read it, don't watch the movies. But if haven't read it, read Dean Koontz's Watchers, which
I've read that already.
yeah, I think they take a lot from that in the early part of Stranger Things as well.
I enjoyed that show a lot. If you guys haven't watched it yet, check it out. It's even worth just getting like your free month of Netflix and just watching it during your free trial. Here's one from Vin Hill. What's up, Vin? Most anticipated games of this year. That's a shame because Matt's is coming out next week.
That's true.
Oh man, let's see. I don't know. Honestly, like I'm starting to lean pretty heavy on like Deus Ex.
Yeah, Deus Ex is up there.
So many games are starting to get pushed into next year that like they're all falling away, and Deus Ex is starting to bubble up.
I mean, honestly, once No Man's Sky is out, the next mile marker for me is going to be Horizon Zero Dawn, but that's February.
That's a ways away.
So if you're talking just this year,
I mean, I don't know. The Last Guardian's up there too. But I have a feeling I'm not going to end up liking The Last Guardian.
yeah, I'm more afraid of that game than anything
Yeah.
else. You know what I'm really interested in? I'm really excited to play Call of Duty Infinite Warfare.
Me too. I'm excited for that game.
Which is weird.
It is weird,
But
yeah.
like everything I've seen of that game, I'm just like, man, I want to see more of that world, or that universe there at the time. Everything looks so freaking cool.
Well, all the shooters coming out at the end of the year all look intriguing to
Yeah.
me. I mean, Titanfall 2 looks awesome. I'm excited for that. Battlefield 1, I mean, I know the campaign's probably going to suck because all Battlefield campaigns suck.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm kind of excited for a little more up close and personal.
No, and
combat.
I guess if that X-Wing VR thing for Battlefront pops up this year, I got my eye on that one. Oh, and Star Trek Bridge Crew.
Yeah, I mean, I'm honestly excited for PlayStation VR probably more than anything.
Yeah, I'm very
Of all
interested
of
to see
it.
what, because I feel like Sony's, having a Vive is a lot of fun stuff, but a lot of it is sort of like a lot of these things are struggling to be actual games,
Right.
And I
Yeah.
feel like Sony's going to nail
Dude, the
that.
launch lineup for PlayStation VR is massive.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to have so much to pick from, and it's all new technology. So if there's one product I'm most excited or anticipating, it's PlayStation VR. If it's a game, again, I think it is Deus Ex.
Yeah, Deus Ex it definitely has my attention.
It's like this month, though, so maybe that doesn't count.
Yeah.
It's still the rest of the year, but I always, whenever people ask that question, I always assume it's like the big like Q4 period of the year.
I'm kind of excited about Pokemon Sun and Moon.
Are you?
Yeah. I've been playing a lot of Pokemon just to pass
Yeah,
the
yeah.
time between, Pokemon Go and waiting for No Man's Sky. And, I played through White, and I really, really liked it. Like, way more. I just was playing White to kind of, like...
Look, I can
Get
still
some stuff.
play it. I
And
stay away from Pokemon games now
White was
because I
really
know what
cool.
happens to me, dude. I get totally sucked into them, and they just
Yeah.
take away like a month of my. I can't do it.
White was really... White. The bad guys in White were PETA. I totally didn't know. It was like Team Rocket crossed
Yeah.
with PETA. And they were
Uh-huh.
like, almost like, oh, yeah, I'm going to beat the shit out of these
Oh, you
people.
just now played that?
Yeah, I never played
Oh, you're
Black
just
and
playing
White.
White. Oh, yeah. I totally forgot. Yeah, there's that whole like weird political thing going on in that.
Like, it was really cool. That, like, hey, they actually addressed the whole, like, aren't Pokemon kind of, like, slaves? Or,
No, I
like,
reviewed that
or,
for
like, cockfighting or something?
Yeah.
Like,
No, if you read my review on Game Trailers, you probably can't find it anymore. You may be able to find it on YouTube. My whole review talks about that. About how it tries to make you like feel guilty, and it makes you question like the whole like, are you torturing the Pokemon by putting them in the Pokeballs? I was just like, Pokemon game should
they're
not
all
be
happy
doing
and
this.
they're all happy in their little balls in the box in the PC where I'm never going to look at them again. That's what they're for.
Yeah, actually, now I'm interested to go back and try to find that review. But I totally talked about that the whole time, about how it made me feel guilty, like over playing Pokemon, and it should never be that way. So that's pretty funny. Let's see. Anything get mentioned about achievements? Ask Brent. They should be done any day now. I know I said that last week. I reached out to Brent about it. Brent is actually, here's something I should mention. Brent is actually moving back to Los Angeles. We are going to welcome our brother back to the City of Angels. He will be here by the end of this month. And he's moving from North Carolina, so right now he's packing up like all his stuff. He's trying to sell his house to move back out here. So the bad news is achievements may get caught in limbo there. The good news is that Brent will be local, and you'll start seeing him on shows, on Sifted, and he'll be doing a lot more stuff with us. So good news ultimately all around. I do not know when the achievements are going to launch. Vin's finished all his stuff. I finished all my stuff. We're just waiting on Brent to finally get everything implemented. Maybe you hit him up on the site at Brent, and he'll fill you in. But yeah, so that's where those are sitting. Let's see. Zero Kaiser. Do you think Sony will copy Nintendo and release a portable PS4? Or is there a relation between Neo and NX? It's weird there are no news about Neo.
No. I think they learned their lesson on the Vita.
I don't know. Like, now, no. There's no way they'll do it now, because PlayStation 4 is still a viable platform, but the world's changing. Like, who would have... Let's think about this, Matt. Back when the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One were announced, who would have ever thought what's happening now would be happening? That we'd be getting these iterative hardware upgrades, that Nintendo would be creating a portable that docks to a television and would basically be out of the console business. Like, this industry changes so quickly. Like, what happens if NX takes off? And Sony's ready for PlayStation 5 or whatever, and they've reached the law of diminishing returns. Maybe Neo doesn't do as well as they hoped. Or maybe Neo is the console for the next 5 years or whatever, and Sony's looking to diversify a little bit. PlayStation's its biggest business right now. I mean, I don't think it's that far-fetched. Do I think it's going to happen? Probably not. But
I don't think Sony is going to chase Nintendo's success anymore.
Nintendo needs to attain a success first.
Right, but even if the NX did take off, I think you're basically looking at a different market from the big boys consoles. Because the last time Sony tried to do that, they ended up with the Move, and now they're just finding a way to use that in a way that maybe doesn't make them take a complete bath on it.
Yeah.
I don't see Sony doing that. Unless there's a paradigm shift like you wouldn't believe for the idea of having to be able to take something on the road with you. But again, like they tried that with the Vita and nobody cared. Nintendo's probably doing the smart thing by making it like if you buy the system, you already have the thing you take on the road with you.
Yeah.
So maybe I guess PlayStation 5 can incorporate something like that with some new update to the DualShock, but like they only got the DualShock up to the point where I don't hate it this generation.
I love the DualShock 4.
I prefer they don't. I love it until it lets me down after a year. The construction quality is lacking.
Suspect, yeah.
But the controller itself is great. As someone who hated the first 3 DualShocks,
yeah, I didn't like them either.
This one's great, but like they just got it right. Don't start trying to add screens or something.
Right.
I feel like they got burned on the Vita, and
they definitely did.
I don't think they want to dive into that anytime soon.
Here's one from I believe it's OST Columbia, or maybe it's Ost Columbia. When do you think we'll hear an announcement for the next Red Dead? By the end of the year. So funny you should mention that. Just today, as I mentioned earlier, 2K put out its financial report, and in that report, by the way, its report was all pretty much Battleborn tanked, and our butts were saved by NBA 2K and Grand Theft Auto 5. And at the end, they added, and new Rockstar announcements coming very soon. So I would say, yes, by the end of the year, we should hear maybe about a new Red Dead, but definitely about new Rockstar games. So, and they said plural games. So I would say yes, by the end of the year, I think we'll hear something.
Swanson asks, what did you think of Pactor's Xbox One color choice?
There's a reason Pac doesn't work in creative, and I'll just leave it at that.
Nobody will steal it.
was like, it's so funny. We're sitting there shooting, and he's like, well, maybe we'll give it away for like a subscriber drive. And I was like, I don't know how that's going to work out.
You want to drive him away.
I love it. I love Pac. He really is just an awesome guy. Like, it's just I've gone.
Like I just picture like the worker had to put that together, just being like,
what was
okay.
this guy thinking? I love Pactor, and I love his family too. Like now that we've shot at his
Somebody
house.
update the site for the colorblind. What are you guys doing? Come on, look what happened.
Now that we've shot at his house so many times, like I know his family, like his wife knows me and his kids know me and everything, and like I just love everything about him and the Pactors. But oh my God, that controller is one of the worst things I've ever seen.
Oh man!
He told me about it before he showed up, and I was like, "Oh, that sounds okay." And then I saw it, and I was like, "Oh my God! Like, holy cow! Yeah."
I know he didn't put his name on it, but I think he just should.
That's why it looked so bad.
No, I think she should have put "kill me."
Yeah. Who asked that question?
Swanson.
Nice job, Swanson. Yeah, you're not.
And later, like Eric Estrada asks, "What color is it?" And he just says, "Awful."
All of them. No, all of them. Awful color.
I think it's the purple analog sticks that really put me over the edge on it. I was like, no.
Dude,
The
they shouldn't
purple.
even allow purple analog sticks. Like Microsoft should just get rid of them. Like they shouldn't even allow people to use them. That was hilarious. Yeah, I couldn't imagine creating a worse color combination than what he did, but I'm sure someone will try. Let's see. Dragon Slayer 91. Matt, are you going to get No Man's Sky for PS4 or PC? If PC, did you get the collector's edition?
Well, I already said that earlier, but I have both PlayStation 4 and PC pre-ordered, and the PC version I have ordered is the collector's edition from I Am 8-Bit.
So you got pretty much everything. Everything that they're selling, he's
Does it
buying.
say No Man's Sky on it? I'm getting it. And I'm fingers crossed that it's not bad.
Eric Estrada saying Agent. It's possible. Rockstar and 2K still have not said that Agent is canceled. So
Anything's possible.
anything's possible. Here's for W. Matthew. What do you think of Overwatch reaching 50 million players and being number one played game in Korea? Not surprised.
No.
It's
Cool.
a great game. Like
Congratulations, Blizzard.
There's still times where I'm sitting like working. And I'm like, man, I'd really like to play some Overwatch. Like, seriously, like, we'll curate a trailer for it or whatever to sift it, and I'm like, man, I want to go play that. Like, when all that stuff came out for the Olympics, I was like, I want to go play this right now. I can't. Like, I have all this other stuff I've got to do. So, I totally understand it. It is a great game. It's an amazing game. The characters have a draw to them that a lot of games, there's just something about it. Like, it's just got that special sauce to it.
Got that Blizzard magic.
It really does. Like, I don't even know how to explain it, and that's why Blizzard is what Blizzard is. So, it doesn't surprise me. Korea surprises me a little bit, because first-person shooters have not traditionally been huge there. They're traditionally like RTS, MOBA is real big there, but it's the characters, man. It's just, it draws you in, and that's why Korean players really like MOBAs as well, at least the MOBAs that have great character development. So I think that's why you're seeing them gravitate towards Overwatch. Let's see. Kidaz, did you ask a question that we missed?
Is the Neo still coming out this year? And if not, what does the marketing for 2 console launches in Q1 even look like? Has that happened before?
Not in Q1.
We've seen consoles come out in the same quarter.
Yeah, but not in Q1. Not that I remember anyway.
The only Q1 console launch I can think of is the Saturn. And that was horrible. Well, that wasn't Q1, that was Q2. That was
yeah.
in
Q1.
May or something.
Yeah, I don't remember another console or handheld releasing in Q1. And Nintendo may not make Q1 either, by the way.
No.
I mean, it's March. That's the very fringe of Q1. If they even push it 1 month, they're in a Q2.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it does put you out of the financial year, which you probably don't want to do,
Right.
just in the sense of having to explain to your investors what's about
which
to
is
happen.
exactly why they named March. Because
right.
they knew it was the last month in the financial year to be able to get those numbers in for their stockholders.
Yeah.
They're probably not worried about that too much now, though. Stock is still up, like
It's still up, but it's
almost
also
double.
It's also not done coming down.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, do not. Pact said this on Pact or Fact. Do not buy Nintendo stock right now.
No, don't do that.
Don't do it. Don't try to jump on the Pokemon Go train. That train already went choo-choo right out of
What'll
the
be
station.
interesting to see is if it gets a bump when Pokemon Sun Moon comes out.
Yeah. Yeah, I would stay away from Nintendo stock right now. Oh, wait, what was the rest of his question? He has something else. What's it like to market
Yeah, what are
two
they
in
gonna
one?
do? You just act like the other one doesn't exist.
Pretty much.
basically.
I think that the messaging for each one is going to be so different. Like,
Yeah. I mean,
so different.
We saw the GameCube and the original Xbox launched in the same
Within a
quarter.
week.
Yeah, right up against each other, and the Wii and PlayStation 3 and
It's happened a bunch.
Sony knows how Sony knows how to do that. You just pretend the other one is not a factor.
Well, I mean, there's two different strategies here. Sony's preaching to the converted,
Right.
and Nintendo has to try to convert. So there's two completely different tactics there. Nintendo has to convince people to give it another chance, in all honesty. And going back to what I said last week about how I believe they should push it as the handheld that connects to the TV and not the console that you can take with you. I think that's how Nintendo will differentiate itself.
Yeah, Nintendo has a narrative they have to put, whereas Sony's just like, hey, that thing that's been awesome for years,
that you really like,
more awesome now. It's like
pretty much.
Pretty simple.
They should bring back Kevin Butler to do that commercial. He'd be perfect for it.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. That'll never happen again.
Kevin Butler should team up with that "Can You Hear Me Now" guy and just like form like the traders of the traders of tech marketing.
That guy's gone now too. I haven't seen the "Can You Hear Me Now" guy in like years.
No, he's been doing commercials for Sprint now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he's doing the whole. He's like, I can hear me now. I kind of like they're like playing with it.
Wow.
Like, that's the whole.
That's pretty
thing.
dirty.
His non-compete clause must have run out.
It did. That was the whole reason.
That was the whole reason.
Doing it,
Let's see. Vin Hill TGS Neo announcement October release. That would surprise me. We'll see though.
Could happen.
Stranger things have happened. So I think that's it for the questions. I think we got through most of them, if not all of them. So thanks once again to everybody. I know Vin is in Japan. At least I think he's in Japan. God knows what time it is there right now. He's probably just getting to work or something crazy. Thanks to all the people in Europe for hanging out as well.
It's like 1:30 there, 1 p.m., 1:30 p.m.
Oh yeah, I guess it's like around, 10 hours ahead, I guess. Or 12 hours ahead. Japan.
It's like 9 hours behind, but tomorrow.
Right.
That's
Which means whatever. Which means my brain just broke. But yeah, thanks to all the people in Europe as well. I know what time it is there. It's really freaking late. So any of you guys who stuck around there, I appreciate it. Also, thanks to some of the new people in the stream. I definitely saw some new folks in there I haven't seen before. One in particular we noticed was being a total jerk. You guys did the total right thing though and just ignored him. Funny how trolls just go away when they don't get what they want, which is attention. So good job on that. Also saw some new people. Actually answered some questions from some new people in the stream this week. So welcome. Hopefully you'll follow us and you'll come back next week. Next week's show is going to be awesome, I think. Mm-hmm. We may just have to dedicate like an hour to No Man's Sky. We'll see how it goes.
We shall see.
Depending on how much we get to play. But everybody have a great weekend. Achievements hopefully coming online very soon. Also, some of the people noticed in the first episode of Geif that there's a little clip there from a warehouse, and that was, in fact, where we're getting our T-shirts made. And I get the full Monty, the whole load of T-shirts on Tuesday. So trying to figure out whether I should show
No Man's Sky and all men's shirts. Half off.
I'm trying to figure out whether I should show the T-shirts off before the store is done. Or make it a surprise.
I think you tease them enough.
Yeah?
Wait until it's ready.
Wait till it's ready. Leave it in the comments.
Now, at this point, you should start showing a picture of an achievement every week until it
You're probably right, actually. That's probably a good idea.
Art. Don't say what it is. Just show the art and say, "Can you guess what this is?"
Well, maybe in post-production, we'll slide in a couple of Vin Hill's achievements, just so you guys can get a little taste for them. But anyway, T-shirts are pretty much done, and that is where that little clip of video came from. I was at the place where the T-shirts are being made, so a couple people picked up on that. But anyway, new episode of Geif tomorrow as well. You'll get GameFace if you didn't watch the live stream, and a new episode of Geif as well to send you guys off into your weekend. So everyone have an excellent night, morning, afternoon, wherever you may be. GameFace is up and out.